Okay, welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful night, day, wherever you are. Hope it's wonderful. I'm joined by 3 out of 4 of my panel for Terminator 2 Special Edition discussion. And I do want to say hello to the chat. Hello, Kaylee D. Good to see ya. That's Ambassador. Oops, there's Kaylee. And Epime, good to see ya. He protect, he attack, but most importantly, he be back. Nice. And Mountains of Elysium, good to see ya. Greetings, Orange Hat and fellow nerds. Won't be able to stay long. It's 2 a.m. here, but wanted to drop by and give the stream a like. Thank you so much for your support, Mountains of Elysium. It truly means a lot. And Price is Right Reviews, good to see ya. What up, awesome peeps? And yep. So we are discussing T2, not just the theatrical edition that everybody knows, but the special edition. A special edition that has expanded the lore in a very different way, which honestly is more preferable and makes sense. Now, before we get started, let's give the panelists who have channels a chance to plug their content. So we'll start with the Ambassador.
Well, for those of you who know me, for those of you who don't, my channel's called The Ambassador Wing. I cover pop culture, modern, and retro. I do reviews. I do live streams. I do the occasional watch party or karaoke night. And this weekend, I'm here with my good friend Orange Hat. We're talking something most definitely retro, most definitely awesome. That is, of course, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Come with me if you want to live. And great to be back. I always love being here with Orange Hat. Great panel, great people, and everybody in the chat. Make sure you, as this crawl says, terminate that like button. So, that being said, I've said my piece. Hit it.
Hey, Chris Knight, good to see you. How are you? Plug your channel.
Yeah, The Real Review 3000. We're on Twitch. We're on Odyssey. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. My account's on Twitter. Also got Chaos Central. Check that out. Got shows weekly, round tables, all that good stuff. And can't wait to talk about this movie. This is like probably, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, sequel of all time.
That's actually
freaking yes.
I mean, it may not be the best for sure, but it is definitely one of the ones that is in the top 10, at least, if not top 5.
Oh, it's top 3. It's top 3 when it comes to, or it's to be 100% honest, it is the number 1 sequel of all time in my book.
Well, you see, and I'll just go into this really quick. I would agree with you, except for one thing, and that is The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes. All right. Yes. So it's number 2. We'll give it number 2 then.
And that's Aliens.
Well, and
Aliens is number 3.
Okay, well, here's the thing.
The
difference between the only reason why I will always say Empire Strikes Back, but then turn around and like kind of prove myself wrong is that Empire Strikes Back in and of itself, even though it's a sequel, it is a standalone movie of its own, also based on the way that it's designed as a serial. So in a sense, it doesn't fit in this. This is an actual successor to a movie. It does rely on the first movie. So I think this is more of an actual sequel than Empire Strikes Back. Because again, Star Wars, you're thrown in it with these characters. If Star Wars hadn't have happened, I don't think Empire would have been as big, but still, it would have worked because you've just been thrown in on it. You have a crawl telling you what happened. It's not reliant on Star Wars. So that's where it kind of breaks out of that sequel, but it still is a sequel. So
yeah, all right, good point, Fairfork. and my friend Marissa from Facebook, who runs some Terminator fan pages. The one that I'm with is fans of the Terminator franchise. Great. It's a great group. So, how you doing, Marissa?
I'm good, and it's good to be back and hearing from all you guys. And T2 is obviously my third favorite Terminator film in the franchise.
Third.
Third, yes, third.
Okay,
First-
what's your first? Your first is Terminator because you said that last time.
Yes,
What's your second?
Terminator Salvation.
Good
Really?
choice.
Yeah,
That's
man,
fair.
Interesting.
Hey, I like
I'm not
that.
going to disagree. I'm not going to disagree. I love. Honest to God, I've said it before. I love all the Terminator movies. I do.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting choice. I mean, I applaud you for
can
the
respect that.
out of the box thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
can
a
respect
lot of people in
that.
my groups are like, because the unpopulated opinion, they're like, oh no, I think it's mostly the weakest one, and blah blah blah. But I still
A lot
like
of-
it.
A lot of people give T Salvation crap, but it's like, honestly, I like it. It's early future war.
That's
You
what
know
I keep
what's
telling
funny,
everybody there. They don't want
You
to
know
listen.
what's funny is it's like I kind of say, and I know that Cameron didn't actually direct it or have anything to do with it, but what I tell people is Salvation is kind of the same thing as the Phantom Menace in Star Wars.
Mhm.
George Lucas
Yes.
introduced so many things that allowed everything after the fact to at least
Yes.
you gotta say, well, it
Yeah.
makes sense. You may not like it, but it makes sense because Terminator Salvation introduces the fact that Skynet they experiment on a
Humans.
hybrid
Yeah.
hybrid and then that comes to play in Dark Fate, so you can't say it doesn't make sense because it's been shown in the series. It's so it's interesting because I understand people's problem with Salvation, but I do like it a lot too. So
We'll get into it when we get to
we will.
Salvation.
Yeah,
But
so-
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get on with T2. Oh, jeez. How you doing, Blake? Good to see you. Liquid Blake is in the chat. And he's like, wait, there was movies after this or after
Yes, there
Oh,
were,
see.
and
Yes, there
two of
were,
the four
buddy.
that were two of the four that were after Terminator 2 were decent. The other two, I
Not as
wouldn't
much,
use
but yeah.
as kindling if I was freezing the Arctic tundra of Antarctica.
Okay, kid. We'll agree to disagree on one of them, but yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
so the establishing shot of T2, where it shows the city and the kids, it is a beautiful shot. The freaking score is great in this movie as well. But the shot that shows LA and humanity basically going about its day, taking life for granted, and then how it just does a white wipe or white blend out with the girl on the swing, and then it just goes to frickin' hell
Yeah.
with it's 2029 AD, Los Angeles, and we have Sarah Connor narrating, and we get up to one skull. The Terminator crushing the skull is iconic, folks.
Yep.
But one of the things that, if you think about it, which I only recently thought of this today, the future war sequence didn't kick off until after that skull was crushed. I mean, it's just nice and serene in a post-apocalyptic look, but the second that foot comes down is when the action starts. And I have to say, in the 5 years between Terminator, or is it 6 years that they filmed in 90 and it came out in 91. So
it was 7 years when it came out.
Yeah.
Yep.
6 to 7 years where this movie and the other movie, the effects for the future war, the purple lasers and the puppetry is vastly improved.
Well, yeah, and we have to thank the late great Stan Winston for all that.
Oh yeah.
Indeed. Stan
I miss that man.
Winston's group is top notch when it came to the Terminator movies. and T2. So
and Predator
then,
and everything else that they worked on. But yes.
yes. So also, this movie has some great top-notch actors a part of it. Aside from Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger, those two are great actors in this. This is the first movie that introduced Eddie Furlong into Hollywood. And Earl Bowen returns as Silberman. Joe Morton is Miles Dyson. And you even have one other actor coming back from The Terminator. And we'll get to that, and I'll tell you who it is when we get to it.
Oh, I already know who it is, but I won't say.
Yeah.
But of course, we can't forget one very important actor, Mr. Robert Patrick.
Yes, Robert Patrick as well. I mean, he was only in one other movie before this, and that was Die Hard 2.
Really?
Yep.
I have never actually seen Die Hard 2.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
I've seen Die Hard, and I've seen Die Hard 3, and I saw Live
How
Free or
could
Die
you
Hard.
skip Die Hard 2? Although, I mean, I think Die Hard 2 is like literally one of the weakest double or like sequels ever, but
yes.
I love the movie still. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, conversation for another time. Terminator.
And yes, Epime, the Oz, Michael Biehn does come back in a deleted scene.
Yep.
Yes,
But that's not
version
the
we're
one I'm talking about.
No.
But that's not the one I'm talking about. To be fair to the effects of the first movie, he had a tiny budget in comparison. Yes, that is also very true. Terminator did a fine job with the money they had. Yes.
Well,
So
this movie also has the same thing of like what Star Wars got. Jaws birthed Star Wars and other things like that. James Cameron has been put on the record multiple times saying that the only reason why he was interested and why he was wanting to be so hands-on with the Abyss was because he wanted to learn and figure out the computer graphics. And those computer graphics directly opened up the way to make this movie possible. And because of that, Abyss birthed Terminator 2.
Indeed.
Well,
Industrial Light and Magic in them also help with the special effects of this movie as well. So, in the future war, they actually do have a couple of cameos of different character or of different behind the scenes kind of people. The guy that runs up to a Terminator that is on the ground and trying to move or whatnot, the person that blasts that Terminator is actually Robert Patrick's stunt double. And I can't remember the other ones, but it is a good sequence because it does show more of the future war. It does show one thing I would have done in post for this movie or later on years to come, like the 30-year anniversary. I would have went and I would have taken out the muzzle flashes of all the weapons where you see fight or where you see the muzzle fire flash of the weapons that are being fired, because they don't really mark well with a plasma rifle, you know.
Yeah. Another thing, Infiltrator, Terminator fan film, he brought up a good point. He said, "Why do hunter killers have searchlights if they can see in infrared?"
That is true. That is another point that
understand.
goes towards, yeah.
I could probably answer this in a way that, remember, there's a lot of scorched earth going on. Scorched earth puts off infrared because of heat. You can hide in that.
Yeah.
What the idea is that the searchlights would catch a difference, and then the computer would also be able to distinguish it from the rest of the thing. See, so every Terminator, every hunter killer, all these machines are working on and I think this one and even the original one show very well all the different things that are processing through their scans. It's not just infrared, because remember when the smoke gets blown in his face in this, it kind of screws with his sensors, but he's still sensing everything going on.
Oh yeah.
It's just like you
Yeah.
and me. We don't just see, we don't just hear, we don't just smell. We're able to do these things. So they're showing that. And so even a computer-based system would still have to have multiple redundancies, backups.
And there's also another good, there's also another good example of it later on when this Terminator is using search mode to try to find a T-1000 in the factory. And we'll get to that sequence when we get that far. But then it does the full, basically the nuclear fire of going through with the credit sequence or the title sequence.
One of the most gorgeous crash sequences ever done.
It is truly beautiful, and with the score, it is absolutely heartbreaking.
Oh yeah.
It's truly saddening.
The crazy thing is, I may be wrong, but I think I'm the only person here who was old enough to have seen Terminator in theaters when it originally came out. Because Orange, I think you're a little bit younger than me. I think Marissa, you are, but Chris, I don't know how old you are per se. Were you even alive in '91?
I don't know. Was I?
I'm asking.
How old do you think I am?
No, that's not how this works.
I'd put him around my age, possibly around 33.
How old are you? Orange?
42.
I'm 36.
I'm 38.
And Ambassador, you're 42?
Yep.
I'm the oldest person here. Let's just put it that way.
How old are you?
I was born in 77. Okay, so
I was alive for all of these. You're a year older than me.
2 years older than you. 2 years.
77. I was born in 78.
Then you're going to be turning 43 here really soon. Then
September.
Okay, that's why. Yeah. See, I saw all the Terminators in the theater. I'm the guy that got to see all the Star Wars in the theaters. See, I got that on you. I got to see Star Wars when I was 3 months old in a drive-in.
You don't even remember seeing it. You were 3 months old. How much can you possibly remember at 3 months?
But you can't take it away from me. That's the thing. You can't take that away from me that I got to see it on the screen the year it was released.
But you didn't understand what was going on.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Let's get back to Terminator here.
Anyway, so let's get back to it.
Let's get back to Terminator.
Another fun, when I watched, because when I got T2, the special edition, to watch it for the original first time, it was the DVD metal case special edition.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this one had a special edition where it actually shows you all of the special effects, what's a matte painting, certain point outs and whatnot. One of the things they pointed out was during the inside fire or the fire sweeping through the playground and whatnot, it is actually it's inside of a studio with blacked out walls. And I'm like, that is actually pretty cool. So then we get to the arrival of Uncle Bob, or the Terminator. All of the Terminators have names, dude, except for the first one, which is the Terminator. You got Uncle Bob. You got
the bad one, the evil one.
Yeah,
somewhere
you got the evil one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was just, somewhere I have a like the magazine that had all the behind the scene pictures and stuff like that they released before the movie. Somewhere I have that, and it's got like the scene that they don't show in the theatrical version of them removing removing the chip and all that. Yeah. It has that showing Linda and her sister, on opposite ends of the non-existent mirror. Man, there are some things they did in this practically that were amazing.
Oh yeah. So one of the things that was also vastly improved is T-Vision, Terminator Vision.
Oh yeah.
When this movie, it has purpose with every single shot of Terminator Vision. When he's going or walking up to the bar, he's scanning each motorcycle. The one that he spots matches his search criteria to 97%. And then when he goes in, it says level 35 priority acquisition of suitable clothing. Now, when Arnold goes in here, the Terminator is naked. Arnold is in there with screaming loud board shorts.
Mhm.
And I gotta say, they did a little thing behind the scenes, and they're like, give us a blackmail shot, and he just starts wiggling his ass, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, that is such hilariousness. So
He was a
this scene,
goofball on this in
oh
this
yeah, he was a goofball on
movie.
this set.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this scene has some good moments and some early movie errors. Now, I like how the Terminator also scans the cigar smoke when he goes up to the guy. He's scanning every single human, mesomorph, endomorph. Then he gets to the guy who matches his criteria, and he's like, I need your clothes, your boots, your motorcycle. And the guy in back of Arnold, the one who swings the pool cue, if you look very closely to that shot in that scene, he already has it upside down. He has the pool cue upside. It's like, dude, you were shooting pool. Why do you have it upside down? But anyway, he blows the smoke in his face. You see it say carcinogen vapor, no damage, particulates, no damage. And
You
then,
forgot to say please.
yeah, he pushes the cigar into his chest. Arnold has a prosthetic patch over that spot, so obviously he wouldn't get damaged. And then he starts crushing the dude's hand. And that's when the guy swings the pool cue. And behind Arnold is a metal rod to break the pool cue, but he still gets smacked a little bit with it, which leads to his reaction. And then he grabs the guy and throws him out. So then he throws the other guy into the kitchen. Now, if you pay attention to that, the guy that swings the pool cue, behind him into the kitchen, you see a person in there, but there's no person in the kitchen anytime afterward. Now, the guy that swings the knife, this is the early movie errors that I'm talking about. When you have a blade that's going into somebody, it's a crumple blade. And if you slow down the movie, you actually see the crumple blade really crumple when it hits him. And then they do the insert with the knife stabbing into the flesh. Him grabbing the knife, it's clearly rubber. And then he twists his arm and then puts it right through his his shoulder blade. So he's basically pinned to the table. And I gotta say, that hurts, man. So
just watching it, it looks painful. I'm like, damn.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of things in this scene that look painful. It's like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you
And
know,
so-
go ahead.
Go
Orange.
ahead. No.
I was just saying, I remember seeing this up on the big screen way back when, and I was sitting next to Mother Ambassador. I was like, "Damn." She's like, "Yeah, looks painful, doesn't it?" I was like, "It looks like it hurts like hell."
Mhm.
She's like, "That's what happens when you take a knife that long and shove it through somebody's shoulder and pin them to it. It's gonna hurt." Of course, she's sitting there grinning ear to ear, and because Mother Ambassador, she loved action movies she loves action movies as much as anybody I know. Of course, I know her very well. But anyway, go ahead.
So after he goes behind into the kitchen where he threw the guy, this guy landed on the stove. And I gotta say, dude, that dude probably has third-degree burns all over his hands. He'll never be able to get good use of his hands after that.
So as one of the things that I used to obsess over is ways to torture people that are actually way worse than what most people would think, that would go under that. Because here's the thing, there's nothing that you can do at that moment that's going to protect you from it. Like, for instance, if you were to use a whip on somebody, they might be able to move in a way that it wouldn't get them a swing. No, this guy has to support his weight. To get off of it, he has to support his weight. So this is really screwed up. So he's trying. I mean, oh man, that is like one of the worst parts of that scene is that it's like, oh my God.
He's pushing down with each press, and then he has to roll off. And You are exactly right. So then he gets out there and they play the iconic Bad to the Bone. Now, here's a great thing about continuity with this movie. The guy that he threw out the bar and onto the windshield, he's still on the freaking car when he's getting on the bike, and that's when the guy comes out and he's like, "Can't let you take the man's wheel, son. Get off or I put you down." And then he gets off, walks up to him. That's it, goddammit. Whips the freaking shotgun out of his hand. Now this is a lever action Remington, folks.
Yeah.
And the reason why I point out the fact that it's a lever action is important. It will come out later, or it will come into play later. So he then goes in or takes the dude's sunglasses, and the dude is literally left there scratching his head like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm standing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris. I was
just going to say, this is the first, after you know what happens, this is the first tell that this isn't the same Terminator, or the same. He doesn't have the same mission. There's something different about him, because
he didn't kill anyone.
He would have killed, exactly. He would have killed everyone
in that bar.
Yeah, and he's under. And maybe he wouldn't have, because again, he does in this movie. They do very well in saying, "Listen, I have objectives." His objective is only to get clothing and the bike, or a mode of transportation. So those two things are accomplished without killing anybody. All he has to do is intimidate enough that he gets it. So I mean, he may just say, "Okay, I got what I need. I'm done. I'm going to walk away." Who's going to? I mean, and then he gets this guy, and he's like, "It's really cheesy if you think about it." That he grabs the sunglasses, because. What does he need sunglasses for? It doesn't. I mean,
well, actually, I have a theory about
that he doesn't blink when he fires the shotgun.
Well, not only that.
I mean, I know why.
Didn't the first movie establish that in dark enough light, the red infrared lights from his eyes do show up? So that's always been my theory. Is that
it would have shown up had they had a couple scenes that were cut. One of the scenes was the dogs. They had Dobermans. Yeah. that had cybernetic eyes or something like that. I think they had a scene they were going to do that, and that would have shown in dark light. You could see that, but I'm not positive.
I think that's the other. Well, for one thing, I think. Go ahead.
It's symbolic. It's purely symbolic, because he wanted him to know this is a machine. I mean, he's wearing sunglasses at night, so. Yeah, cue that music. But he's wearing sunglasses at night to basically to display that he's not human. And it actually is pure symbolic, and I'll get back to it later when it actually applies. So then we get to the T-1000's arrival after Uncle Bob rides off. And if the ladies look close enough, they'll actually get to see Robert Patrick's Willie in this scene.
It's there.
Yeah, sadly it is there, and it's like so the cop gets there. I think it's 10R31 David or whatever, and he's investigating an electrical disturbance, but the cutout of that fence where the sphere was is raggedly uneven, but it's actually still done very well. Robert Patrick comes in, and they actually, in the special edition, when I was watching it, it's like a commentary or cruise, or in special effects cruise commentary, where we are still aware of the rule that nothing dead can go through. It needs living tissue. So so we basically just established that it shed its skin, or it shed the living tissue off screen.
I think also in the T2 novel, they also said that he might be in like a cocoon thing, like a living cocoon thing, and he went through like that.
That's basically how I speculated and I had never even touched the novel. That's basically how I always speculated the T-1000 going through, is in just this like huge, massive clump of freaking living tissue, and it just slices out.
Yep.
So then it gets in and it checks the database and it searches for John Connor. Date of birth 2/28/85. John Connor is 27 days younger than I am. I was born February 1st. And then we get the interesting address, 19828 South Almond Ave, Reseda. And that's the one that I wanted you to look up, Chris.
I'm going to do that right now. Hold on. Just put it in the private chat so we can continue talking.
Also, before on there, it also said his other status. It said, like, natural mother, Connor, Sarah. Natural father,
unknown.
Yep. Yeah.
We all know.
And then we also get a little bit of his rap sheet: trespassing, destruction of property, a couple other things I can't quite name off the top of my head. And then we get introduced to. Yeah.
All right. Really quick.
Right.
By the way, I have a amendment to what I said last time about the Tiki Motel. It actually turned into apartments, and I had the wrong address before. I found the right one. It is still there though. It's interesting. Okay. What is that address?
19828 South Almond Ave in Reseda, California.
Actually showing up as Ontario. California, yeah.
Huh. Well, it says
what do you want to know about it?
Yeah.
What do you want to know about it?
Or see if you could actually pull it up if it actually comes up as Todd and Jeanette's house.
As who?
Todd and Jeanette Boyd's house from the movie. Because that's the foster parents' house. South.
It's a real house, I think, but I don't know if it's still there. No. Hold on here.
And this is one of the few times. Well, this will be, I think, like the second time that the actress who plays Jeanette will appear in the James Cameron movie. Didn't Aliens come out after this?
Right.
But the Aliens come out after.
Aliens came out in '86.
That's right.
Jeanette Goldstein.
Yeah, she was also in Titanic. She played the Irish mother.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be doing, in honor of Mam Ambassador's birthday, I'm going to be doing a director spotlight on James Cameron later this month. So,
nice.
Yeah, going to be talking about all his movies. So, anyway, go ahead. Come back.
The foster parents are played by Jeanette Goldstein and Xander Berkeley. And Jeanette, it was in Aliens. And we also are very quickly introduced that John is a rebel. I mean, the rap sheet basically gives it away, but John is just ignoring her, revving up his bike and his dirt bike, and his redheaded friend from Salute Your Shorts is like, your foster parents are kind of dicks, huh?
Yeah.
I would love that. And so
like Bill,
she sends. Go ahead.
So, I'm sorry, Raj. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, and I'll go.
No. You go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say I can understand where John's coming from, because he knew his mother. He had his mother in his life the majority of his life, and it really speaks to the psychological state of the life that John has had. It's been very unorthodox. It would make sense for him to be as rebellious and be very anti-authority as he is, because authority took away his normalcy, or at least what he conceived as normal. Because he's like, I thought people rode around in helicopters, shooting off guns, blowing up shit, as he said to his friend. And he's like, then one day he's like, hey, your mother's a psycho kid, didn't you know? Yeah. So he's going to be very, very anti-authority, and it makes perfect sense. And I actually that's one of the dynamics I love about this movie is, one, John being rebellious against authority because he picked it up from his mother, but also the fact that him and his mother have a very while she loves him and he loves her, they have a very strained and a very unorthodox mother-child relationship.
Mhm.
So
The actual location of Todd and Janine's house is 19828 Valero Street in Canoga Park, California.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
cool.
here.
Alrighty.
Just really quick. And turn it around, and there it is. Yeah, that's it right there.
And let me add that in so we can take a look at it.
Oh,
Blue
yeah,
truck.
that's
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
accurate.
Oh my God, there
Wow.
it is. Yep.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you zoom in right there,
I'll be a son of a gun. It's still it's nice looking
Yeah.
house.
It is still
I
a
mean,
nice looking house. Yeah.
Wow.
a lot of these houses, though, they're used multiple times in different movies. I mean, but
Yeah.
no, there you go.
Nice.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if this was. I could be wrong, but this could be in the same neighborhood as where some of the other houses that were used for T1. I mean, you think about it, the houses look similar.
Oh yes. The wrong Sarah Connor houses. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. Thank you, Marissa.
You're welcome. Yeah.
It's up to the ambassador
So-
of AT authority. Yeah, in some instances, yes, you're right, Soul.
Then moving into the introduction or reintroduction to Sarah and
I love
Dr.
this scene.
Silverman
I hate this dick.
into the Pescadero State Hospital. Silverman has made a career out of Sarah, basically.
Mhm.
He's like, I've been following this case for years, and how old did he say she was? Because
29.
this is,
She's
Yeah.
29.
Is she? I don't think so.
She was
He
19.
said our next patient is a 29-year-old female with acute schizophrenia
schizophrenic.
or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Marissa, I knew there was a reason I
not
liked you.
disorder,
You
but
memorized lines like I
schizoaffective
do.
disorder. Yeah, schizoaffective disorder, and the usual symptoms: violence, or delusions of persecution, acting out. And she's all the while he's going over this,
So
she's doing,
nuts.
or she's flipped her bed and she's doing freaking chin-ups. And
Like a freaking boss.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Pudgy McPudge Pants, look at me. I have a brain and I'm a psychiatrist, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, can you break a person's arm with a nightstick? Do you know how to escape from a mental institution? No. Because you're a
We'll
flabby.
get there, Ambassador.
You're a
Stand
flabby.
down.
Sorry.
And so the blonde with the glasses, the doctor or the woman that's listening to Silverman,
The
saying
intern.
that's original and whatnot, is actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's assistant.
Oh.
Yes.
Hey, Dr. Silverman. How's the knee?
So yeah,
Yeah.
and yes, we
Just
quickly
fine,
established
Sarah.
that.
Attempted escape.
She stabbed me in my kneecap
Hey,
a couple
Bester,
weeks
I'm a
ago.
psychiatrist. Be afraid. Soul's asking, you wouldn't want to try and shrink me. I don't shrink well.
So after this is where one of the first extended scenes is,
Mhm.
where after Silverman lets the doctors look in on her, he's like, Douglas, I don't want her.
Disturbing
Or
her
I don't
room.
want to see the patients
Disturbing her room like
disrupting the
that.
rooms like this. See that she takes her Thorazine, would you?
There's
And
no problem,
normally
Dr.
the scene,
Silverman.
yeah, no problem, Dr. Silverman. I'll take care of it. That's where the scene ends at the end.
Yep.
Now in the special edition, it shows them going in, and you see the look on Doug's face when he's going in. He looks like he just wants to beat the shit out of her,
Yeah,
while
he
the other
does.
guy in back of him is smiling his little head off. It's like, yeah, we get to play with Sarah again. And I'm like, oh god. So the guy who plays Dougie,
I
when he
hate
smacks
that
her,
dirt bag.
when he smacks her, they actually had to in post speed up the shot because he wouldn't hit Linda.
No, there's the thing. You know the full story of that, right?
Mm-hmm. No.
About later on in the movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do.
I mean, yeah, she told him during this scene, she's like, "Don't hold back, just do it."
Yep.
And he couldn't come to do it. The guy was like too nice of a guy in real life. And then he learns later. Why, when somebody tells you to do something, you do it.
Because she fucking cracks him later. But anyway, he hits her, and they literally he then kicks her in the ribs, and the other dude freaking zaps her, and then they force feed her the medicine. Now,
no trouble.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that Linda Hamilton did say when she was approached for Terminator 2, I want to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to be insane. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and freaking Cameron's like, okay. That was actually one of Linda Hamilton's stipulations for being in the movie. She felt that this would be the only real logical way that she could be in the movie.
Yeah.
So then the T-1000 shows up at Pescadero, or not at Pescadero, but at the home for the
foster parents.
Yeah. And the special edition info while he's talking and gets the picture of John, and they say that there was another guy here looking for him too. The info that the movie from the DVD yields is that it feels that it knows that another Terminator might be back here. So it makes a mental note of it, so to speak, and that's about it. So when he's looking up at them, a big guy on a bike, does that have anything? No, I wouldn't worry about him. Thanks for your cooperation. When he looks up at them, literally if they would have shown a POV, potential Terminator in time or potential second Terminator in timeline, like that kind of note would have passed in its POV.
Mm-hmm.
And so then John Connor's robbing a freaking ATM, and please insert your stolen credit card now.
Credit card here.
How does this kid have this kind of equipment?
He
found it. Stole it. Went to the store and he stole it.
So then he basically robs $300 from
easy money,
an ATM, easy money, and he tells the audience gets reintroduced to the picture, and through Salute Your Shorts, I can't remember his name. I don't even think his name was even mentioned in the movie, but anyway. I'm just going to call him Salute Your Shorts. And he's like, she's cool, huh? No, she's a complete psycho. That's why she's up at Pescadero. It's a mental institution, okay? She tried to blow up a computer factory and she got shot and arrested. She's a total loser. And you can tell that the kid believes that.
Yeah, he's like, no shit.
He bought into the No, you could tell that John Connor believes this crap. He didn't. Or he believed the authorities said that your mom was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, again, even with things that they did later on, it kind of messes with this timeline of the thought of it's kind of, we have to figure out how long, and I think they may give some idea, but we know he traveled with his mother south of the border, so that had to have been sometime after the Terminator movie, of course. If he was born about 9 months later, she probably came back to California like the Los Angeles area, had the child, then slowly went in deeper to the thought process of I have to prepare now, and I have to start taking him places where he'll be prepared. So we learn in this movie that he spent time with these people in Mexico and other places, but it's very vague on how much time and how often, but it doesn't sound like he's been away from her for a very long time. The way he acts towards his step parents is he acts like a teenager, so much so that I can only imagine that he I think he's supposed to be what 12 or 13 in this movie.
10.
Something like
No,
that.
he's
Yeah.
actually supposed to be
Okay,
10.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Is it 10? Okay. Which he doesn't even act. He acts much older than that, so that seems kind of.
He's actually,
wonky,
yes.
Well, if you think about it, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but he hasn't been with these guys very long, so he's either been in multiple places, but this is obviously the first place that they've kept him.
Mhm.
So I think that's more that teen angst coming out. Like, my mom's a total loser because she did all this crap to me, and now it's stuck in this situation because she wouldn't, she just couldn't keep it on the rails and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if he buys into it. He just knows that he blames her for the situation he's in. It doesn't really matter because at that age, you're not really worrying about what people say. It's the fact that you do understand that your mother's the reason you're where you're at, and you're not happy about that. So, I mean,
well, yeah, because as I mentioned before, John's relationship with his mother is not the conventional paradigm that we would understand. And you think about the people that he grew up around. You've got soldiers of fortune. You've got people who just run guns. You've got all sorts of former military guys, and all that stuff's going to that type of environment is not the ideal environment for a young child in particular, to grow up in. But if you look at his skill set, he also knows at least a little bit about how to fix a dirt bike. He knows how to hack into an ATM. We can only imagine what else he knows how to do, for Pete's sakes. I mean, he keeps up with his mom in the Terminator, for crying out loud. So, at his age, his skill set is not normal for a kid his age. That also means his mentality, to a certain degree, is not going to be the same as a typical 10 or 11 or 12-year-old. It's going to be much more mature, but at the same time, that maturity is going to be tempered by his age and the resentment that he has towards his mother.
And again, like you said, it shows all these skill sets he's picked up, but he doesn't even understand that that's because of his mom. Here he's doing this, he's taking cash from an ATM and all this, but this is all stuff his mom's taught him. And then he's later on saying, "Yeah, my mom's a total loser." Well, if she was, everything you're doing is because of her. It's like, and it's that typical child thing. It's like, I hate my parents because they're this and this and this, and then when you turn 30 or so, you start realizing, oh crap, I guess I'm the person I am because of them. And it's, but it doesn't happen in this movie, of course. But yeah.
And Epi also brings up a good point. He knows how to reload firearms too. Yeah, most kids his age aren't going to know how to reload a shotgun, much less a semi-automatic pistol. That's not easy. And the fact that he's speed loaded.
Also, like another extended scene in there, when he talking to the Terminator and the deputy says, "Then I got put into a regular school. I was all into running guns, but every other kid was into Nintendo." And you can tell he wasn't into Nintendo and all that games.
Yep. So the scene then as they're riding off again, the scene also shows that the Terminator is close, but has not quite acquired his target. So then we get to the dream sequence with Kyle and how he relays the message and iterates that he's the target now. And she's lost him. Now you could tell that this is a dream because, she is in a nightgown instead of her insane whiteies.
Can I just say hubba hubba hubba?
So as she runs away, or she tries to catch Kyle, she is reintroduced to the dream that we all know from later on, but this is a different version of it where it's not fully played through. So then that leads us into the evaluation where she's talking about the dream in the video, and then she goes nuts in the video, and Silverman is like, well, I feel a lot better now, clearer. You taught me to have a goal, something to look forward to. And what is that? Well, if I had behaved for 6 months, you said you would move me to the minimum security wing and I could have visitors. And I was hoping to see my son.
Yeah.
And let's go back to what you were saying about those Terminators. Now you think they don't exist. She's basically playing him. I mean, he gave her out for it later.
Well,
And,
I was going to say that this is classic.
Yeah.
He gives her a goal or something to work towards, but she knows that this is all bullshit. But he knows that she's going to bullshit her way to get what. So this is almost like a cat and mouse game. It's like, I know what you're going to do. You know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do this. So you do this, but we all know what's going on, but we're not going to say it. I do the same thing she does.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So,
you told me.
Yeah, but get that. Or when he's like, so you don't think that the company tried to cover it up? No, why would they? And that actually goes
the
to
hydraulic
Cyberdyne.
Yeah.
And it shows or it introduces Miles, the chip, and the arm. And I love how the guy's like, I was wondering if you'd tell me, I mean, if you know where it came from. You know, I asked them that same question. You want to know what they told me? Don't ask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
and this is where you want that
government.
That's where you want that cut scene from Terminator, where they're outside of the thing with the talking about it. Yeah, I mean that.
Yeah,
man.
And so the chip, you get a look at the busted chip, and you also you actually do get a small little tease of his neural net processor. All the chip is basically a shrunk down and compacted neural net processor.
Yeah, just like the model version or the whatever you want to call it that Dyson has in his home office.
Yeah, the honeycomb or the honeycomb model.
Yeah, exactly.
So then they go back to Sarah after he's looking at the arm, and she's like, "So what do you think, Doctor? I've shown improvement, haven't I?" Well, here's the thing, Sarah. I know how smart you are, and I think you're just telling me what I want to hear. I don't believe you think, or I don't think you believe anything you're telling me here today. I think if I put you back in minimum security, you'll just try to escape again. And so she realizes she's been caught, or he's outmaneuvered her, and she's like, "You got to let me see my son." So she tries being honest about it, and he's like, "Afraid not for a while. I don't see any choice but to recommend to the view board that you stay here another 6 months." And as I said, she is his golden goose. He won't let go of her. He will keep her there indefinitely. So what does she do? I'll kill you, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And she tries to kill him.
And I cannot say I blame her because this guy is a complete and total dirtbag. He is not a shrink. He is a glory hound disguised as a shrink.
He was a shrink. The thing is that he found, listen, if you found a golden goose that continued to pay, understand this guy is a doctor. He went to school to be a doctor, so he publishes. You could publish how many books on this and this subject alone? Her. And so it is not something that somebody wants to get rid of. I mean, and I mean, I'm not saying I agree with his methods, but I don't disagree with the fact that he doesn't want to let her go. I mean, if I'm that guy, I'm sorry. I mean, and also in a sense, you have no proof that she isn't crazy.
Yeah.
But a compassionate person, even in that situation, would look at this and go like, I'm not going to release you from maximum security, but what I will work out is we'll figure out what steps we have to go through. We will get your son in here so you can visit since we've made some progress. That's what most people would say.
Yes.
Well,
let's continue down this line. But that's what I'm saying. He's bullshitting her all the way through. She's bullshitting him all the way through. They know this. But
he played the better game.
Well, he's going to win anyways. There's nothing she can do. I mean, she's screwed, which is why she does what she does.
I think also on one, I think on one extended scene or delete scene, whatever it was, he was going to give her like ECT treatment. And once you get to all her memories of the nightmares and the stuff are all disappearing.
Yep, electroshock and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, electroshock does nothing. It's a torture. That's
basically, it doesn't do anything.
It tickles.
So,
I
maybe it
know,
tickles
and I
for
don't want to know.
Maybe it tickles for Murdoch from A-Team, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
moving on.
I do want to actually point out that there is a story question mark or error. How does Sarah Connor know the exact date of Judgment Day?
I know.
Exact date of what?
How does she know the exact date of Judgment Day?
Didn't Kyle say it in the first movie? Or is there a deleted scene from the first movie?
Infiltrator Terminator fan film said the same thing too. He said, here we go. Judgment Day is like a Polaroid, a Mobius strip, a loop with a twist. At Pensacola, Sarah Connor says she knows the date Judgment Day will occur. The only way she could know the date is if Kyle Reese told her during a moment not shown in the Terminator. Then it says, but that date was fabricated to create urgency in Sarah by John Connor himself, who ordered Kyle Reese to tell Sarah the date that Sarah told him, that Kyle Reese told her. Judgment Day never happened August 29th, 1997. Goes on about something, the fact that Judgment Day never happened. John Connor hastily reprogrammed Uncle Bob in 2029 and sent the T-800 back to protect his 10-year-old self. So Uncle Bob's math errors, 1995 plus 35 equals 2030. And 1995 plus 3 is 1998. And actually, John Connor's math errors balancing on the line of coordinating that Judgment Day was ordered by Kyle Reese to tell Sarah with John's own memories of the things Sarah told him and the things he himself experienced as a 10-year-old in 1995. Yeah, that's what he concluded, Infiltrator.
And we will also go into this, the running dates that they give in this movie are its biggest continuity problems.
Yeah, but in the long run,
we will get to them though as we get there. So John Connor, or the T-800, is riding on his Harley, and then he spots John Connor going through the washways or the flood areas. And you see it, target acquired, positive identification, and the T-1000 learns where he's going. What?
I was just going to say that this is, again, the answer is in the nature of the movie. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
It consistently changes. There's only 2 movies where I think that the date actually stays concurrent, and that is actually maybe it's 3, but it's in 2, 3, and Salvation, I think. The rest of them, it moves around, because even in the wiki for Terminator, it says, due to the impact of time travel on the Terminator timelines, the date of Judgment Day has been altered several times. 1995, and one of the timelines, Judgment Day occurred in 1995, much earlier than originally is. 1997. The specific date of Judgment Day is described by both Sarah and the T-800 on August 29th of 1997. Skynet becomes self-aware at 2:14 a.m. Eastern, which understand 2:14 a.m. So it isn't even consistent in Terminator 3 because it's not 2. It says it launches its missiles against Russia to incite counterattack. And then it says, since Sarah and Terminator both share the same information, which would have in any case if both it and Kyle were sent back from the same time and in different to different destinations. This date
messed up the whole thing.
Yeah, it says this date has not changed as a result of Cyberdyne managing to reconstruct and create Terminators from remaining parts of the T-800 sent back from 1984 in the future. At this stage, quality may have improved, but the timing has not yet changed. And then 2003, in Russia, a routine day at sea turns into a nightmare when it seems the U.S. has launched a massive attack on the rest of the world. It's also in 2004, after Sarah Connor and her son John T-800 destroy Cyberdyne headquarters, all backups of research from T2, Terminator 2, the date of Judgment Day is moved to July 25th of 2004 at 6:18 p.m. Eastern Time. This event is not prevented and occurs as predicted with the T 8500 or 850, indicating Judgment Day is inevitable. And then 2000s, 2011. So again, that's the thing. Why you can never say that any of these don't fit with the whole movie. Like no movie disproves another movie, because what we have to remember is that time shift, the fact that they send another Terminator back to this time has changed time again. And every time you change time, things are different. So what you may see in Dark Fate may not happen in the original Terminator timeline. And what happens in Terminator 2 may have caused what happens in Salvation. It may have caused what happens in T3. It may happen. Genesis may have been that, or maybe it was T3 that made Genesis. We don't know where these splits are in time.
Yeah, exactly.
So to say it doesn't fit and it doesn't work is impossible when you're dealing with time. So
well, here's the thing.
This Sarah Connor isn't, maybe, again, we don't know. Maybe this Terminator 2 is slightly a different timeline from the Terminator 1, and that she was told, and we just don't know.
Well, but here's the thing too, because if by everything that Sarah potentially did after Kyle's death in succeeding in, or I don't remember if she succeeded or didn't succeed in blowing up any of the computer factories that she targeted, that can set back the process by which Cyberdyne works on the chip, because that could have been another facility that was working on the chip and the arm to crack the code. And let's be candid here. Companies are going to have redundancies. Dyson probably wasn't the only scientist that was working on the chip. They may have had other teams that were working on the chip. You don't have just one guy. Now,
because
Dyson
nobody's specialized in everything.
Now, Dyson may have been the lead person at the main Cyberdyne facility, but I guarantee you that there were other Cyberdyne facilities that were carrying out that same work, trying to crack this thing. Because if they can crack this, they can do a technological quantum leap, not just for themselves, but for the U.S., for the U.S. government, and for the U.S. military. Because let's be honest, the first major computer company that can give the United States military AI is going to have contracts coming out of their ears for decades.
And we will get there.
I know.
Believe me, when Uncle Bob gets there. But anyway.
Well, you got some of it right now.
Another interesting thing, too, is it says an early draft script of T2, John Connor, who is the narrator instead of Sarah, mentioned Judgment Day as having occurred in 1999. Then it says, in T2 Rising Storm, John Connor remarks the original Judgment Day happening 15 years ago. Since the story takes place in 2001, this makes Judgment Day approximately in 1986 instead of 1997, as mentioned in the film. It says, note, in the Terminator 1984, Kyle Reese says the nuclear war would occur in a few years from now. So it is unknown if this continuity error or a change caused by time-traveling missions.
Well, they say it. Sarah says it in the first movie, at the end of it, that they're changing, and they say in this, aren't we changing the future right now? And that's the thing. Everything that they do, and perhaps that's probably one of the most genius things to think about. Let's go a little bit out of the box here and think, perhaps John Connor knows that by sending that back, the first Terminator, or sending back Kyle Reese and the Terminator getting sent back, he's genius enough to realize that by doing that, they screw with time enough that there's always a possibility to change it.
Yep, like Kyle Reese said, one possible future. There could be like one of many.
He's like, I don't know tech stuff. I'm just a grunt.
Yeah.
Hey, MJ1, good to see you, man.
Hey there, Ambassador. And I did notice Soul Assassin say in the chat, I felt that Mega Jetty 1 would know the answer to Judgment Day. Yes. What was the question?
When is Judgment Day, basically?
Oh, well, from Terminator 2, we know it's August 29th, 1997. But the thing is, I actually believe that there was once at least one original timeline where time travel did not affect anything. Kyle Reese did not show up in 1984. The Terminator did not show up in 1984. Sarah just, she just got pregnant with some guy. It could have been the Stan Morsky guy. Could have been anyone. Heck, it could have even been one of those punkers from the beginning that got killed by the Terminator for all we know. And
that's what they're saying too with John Connor too. They're saying that maybe the one that sent Kyle Reese, he was a badass thing, but when T3 came along, he became more like a wimp.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, for whoever the original father was, it didn't matter. And somehow, some way, John was born. Somehow, some way, Skynet got created by Cyberdyne. Somehow, some way, John survived Judgment Day, and then eventually, somehow, some way, got to become the leader of the human resistance and led them to victory. And then, of course, the time travel was invented for the first time. And maybe originally Kyle Reese was sent back just to protect Sarah, but he inadvertently got close to her. And then that became like the genesis of future timelines, where whether he knew, whether Reese or John knew that Reese was supposed to become his father or not, he would end up becoming that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is actually there's a backwards way of thinking of it, not like that. The backwards way of thinking about it is that John never knew who his mother was.
His mother?
And that, I'm just saying, if John doesn't know in one of these timelines, he doesn't know who his mother is, and then he sends back, or they try to inadvertently change time, and let's say he just picks a time. He's like, I know I was born in this during this time. I'm going to send this guy back. And perhaps inadvertently he causes this loop. This is a loop. There's no way to know if there was a beginning or an end, because theoretically it all goes back to Terminator 1. So we don't know if there is an original timeline. We don't know if in one of those original timelines, John never did exist. It's very difficult to know. So, I mean, it's a paradox. That's all these movies are. It's a paradox. We don't know really which is first, the chicken or the egg.
Well, that's technically true. That's technically true, but I also believe that Cameron's intention the whole time was to never create a paradox, or at least if there was one, it was to break it. Because the thing was, Cameron initially made Terminator 1, and when he did that, he always intended to have Sarah try to blow up Cyberdyne. But since, things didn't work out when they made the first film, they took elements of that, put it in the sequel, and then that's why many people think Terminator 2 is the end, because, they broke the cycle.
Yep.
Well, and here's the other thing too. I hope none of you will groan at this analogy. I think it kind of works here. If we look at this from, say, the timeline structure that is used in Loki, there could be various Nexus events that intersect within the Terminator timeline or the universe, where a branch goes off in another direction and a branch goes off in another direction. And what the Terminator says in T3 is Judgment Day is inevitable. All you did was push back when it happens and how it happens. That same principle could be possible too. Well, there could be one constant timeline, but you've got different Nexus events that alter how the timeline goes.
Yep.
True. But for one thing, no offense, I technically do not consider Terminator 3 canon, because even though it technically does the best it can to try and stick to the original first two films, it really suffers when that film already has continuity issues of its own. Like it said that in the beginning, John said he was 13 when they tried to kill him. He was 10 years old.
Okay, but here's the thing again. Multiple timelines. James Cameron. Okay. James Cameron should have known that you do create a time paradox as soon as you mess with time. That is the constant. And if you buy into the theory of time travel, there's no absolute way. And I think Back to the Future is one of the best ones to show it, that every little thing has a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
And the difference between Terminator and Back to the Future is Back to the Future kept it up in a neat, tiny little package and didn't go too far outside of the storyline. Terminator leaves so many open-ended things. Again, what happens in Terminator 2 and what happened in Terminator 1 may have very well caused the fact that what we never think of as people who watch these films is every one of these could be a separate timeline. Everything we're seeing, the first movie helps the second movie, but perhaps it isn't even tied to the first movie in any way, shape, or form. It could be a completely different timeline. And that's why the Terminator 3, John Connor says it was when he was 13 and not 10. It was because in his timeline that we're watching in Terminator 3, now it happened when he was 13. That's why even the Terminator Wiki does point out that time of Judgment Day consistently changes. His Judgment Day in Terminator 3 doesn't happen at 2:14 in the morning. It happens at 3 in the afternoon or whatever. So again, automatically messing with time. There's no way to prove any of these are canon, and none of them are. There's just no way.
Technically, that I do agree with. Whatchamacallit, because darn, I had a train of thought and then I lost it. Dang, I hate when I lose my train of thought.
Well, we gotta get back on track here, guys.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. But hey, this has been. Hey, can I just say this right here, this little section here. This has been one of the funniest conversations I've had in a while. No, don't get me wrong. I've had some other good ones, but this has been. I love talking time travel. You guys know your stuff, and it's so nice to talk with nerds who know time travel.
Yeah, I just remembered what I was. I just remembered what I was trying to say. Okay. One of the things I do think that Back to the Future and Terminator do the time travel well. It's just the one thing I didn't like in Back to the Future 2 or Back to the Future at all was the whole the moment that George was being pulled away from Lorraine, Marty just somehow started phasing out of existence. I mean, I understand why they did it, but it's just that see, it goes like this. If I went back in time, killed my dad before I was even born, that doesn't automatically mean I should be erased. It just means I'm a relic of the timeline where I was born. So then if I go back to my time, I still technically exist as I am, but no one knows who I am because
it is the grandfather paradox. If you go back in time and kill your grandfather, are you going to be dead? And I think Tenet makes a good point of that. If you've watched Tenet, some people hate it, but the more I watch it, the more I'm clicking in on things. I'm like, okay,
dude,
maybe,
Chris,
maybe.
Well,
I know we brought this up before, but Chris, I'd love to pick your brain on Tenet. I love that movie.
How about Looper? That's sort of like a time.
Never seen it. Never seen it.
The most maddening.
Let's keep it on Terminator, please.
I'm last thing. The most maddening time travel movie of all time is Donnie Darko.
I've actually never seen that one, but anyway. Sorry, Orange.
So the Team 1000 is learning from the two girls where JC is. Now, I've always speculated after seeing T3 that one of the redhead was Kate Brewster.
That could very well have been the case because T3 established that Kate and John had a relationship before the events of T2, and basically they hooked up the day before he first ran into the T-800 Terminator, Uncle Bob, and then so if the T-1000 or at least in John's mind, if the T-1000 and Uncle Bob did not come back for that event, they would have gotten together then. He would have met her father, and even though he believed his mother was crazy, he would have heard about Skynet and whatnot, and then would have wondered, maybe there was some truth in what my mom said, and maybe I should convince him to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and which leads to the mall scene where John and his Salute Your Shorts friend was in the arcade. And I do like how this scene is set up because it does it's like who's going to get to him first, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, that is what Sarah said in the opening.
Yeah, the guy that points out who John Connor or where John Connor is, that's actually a member of the crew as well.
Wow.
Of the movie. And then I just love as soon as the T-1000 zeroes in, he just starts shoving kids out of the way.
Yeah. I actually
saw that. Boom.
Yeah, well, what's also interesting too is the arcade games that John plays, the
Missile Command,
and the
Missile
other one,
Command,
yep,
and Afterburner.
In the future.
And can I just say, I used to go to arcades just like that. I used to play Missile Command, and I love. I cannot say how much I love the Afterburner video game machine. That thing is a thing of beauty. I wish I had one now.
Oh yeah, the roll.
MJ1, you know what I'm talking about, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. I know Afterburner because I've also seen it in Suburban Commando, but they of course called it a different game, treated it like it was a space shooter. But interesting thing you brought up John's friend who warned him. I actually made a video on both my main channel and on TechCom preserving Terminator lore since 1984. Basically, I made a video that about underrated characters in Terminator that you don't get really mentioned not too much after Terminator 2. Like Terminator 3 used one of them, but just didn't do much with them, you know? But yeah, one of the underrated characters was John's friend, Tim. And because, you know, this guy, you know, he went to the mall with John and first off, if he wasn't even there, maybe they wouldn't have gone to the mall, and the T-1000 would have killed John right there and then in there in his own home. But then again, of course, the T-800 got there first. So, and we know that if it wasn't for Tim warning John, the T-1000 would have eventually probably caught up to him in the arcade there. So Tim is an underrated character because he saved the leader of the human resistance.
Yep.
Now, where John is running from the T-1000, it gets to the fight between the Terminators. And I love the effects between the digital and the practical effects of the Terminator, where they use like foil flower, or they call it the tinfoil flower effect, because it does kind of look like like a blooming flower when it pops out of the squib. Now, the cop's pistol, or the cop pistol of the T-1000, and in later or other cops' pistols in the movie, they're all used, or their sound that they put in it are silencers.
Yeah, because I did notice that.
Typical movie silencers, I need to point out, because silencers actually don't sound like that in real life.
Yeah. I am curious, why did they make every pistol sound like it had a silencer?
It was only police pistols.
Probably because they figure police were the T-1000 in police form is silent and deadly, so any police using a pistol would be silent and deadly almost.
Yeah. Essentially. So then the fight goes into the little store area. Now, they actually had to pull one of the one of the props out of the way, because it was a prop that they no longer had permission to use. And it was Hero Cologne. As you see the T-1000 pick up the T-800, spin to throw him out the window, you actually see that little thing being pulled out if you really pay attention to it. And that's when he gets thrown through the window, and you see the return of the character I said earlier in the stream,
Bill
1L19.
Yeah. Two things about that scene. Well, first time I ever heard of Hero Cologne for Men. That was I first heard that in Lethal Weapon 2. It was in an advertisement in the beginning of the film, but I did not notice about that.
Hero.
Yeah. And also, second thing, fun fact, I know for sure, the reason why the T-1000 just threw Arnie through the glass and outside that store and he just laid there for a second or two, initially he was supposed to be thrown off the second floor of that mall. And that was why he was immobilized temporarily, because, you know, the fall damage.
Another interesting thing, the reason why Bill Wisher did the cop thing was because the original actor got caught in some like flight delay, so he couldn't make it to his part, his line. So then James Cameron asked him to play the cop part, and he said, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll do it."
Huh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Now, the reason why I thought that Arnold or the T-8 Hunter just laid there for a moment was to mimic,
Playing dead.
basically to mimic playing dead like a human would, to be like, okay, that kind of hurt. Let's get up again now.
Yeah, but no.
But
apparently, I saw like there was a storyboard. He was like thrown off, and I think it was also in the novel that he was thrown off the second floor down to the first, and he had to run all the way back up to the second floor to get his shotgun from the hallway.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my hands on this novel sometime.
Yeah.
So then the chase happens. Now, this chase has a lot of stuff to it.
Mm-hmm.
The T-1000 is proven to be a very swift Terminator. It's basically keeping up with him on a dirt bike. So when it leads to the floodways, or I don't know what they call them,
Canals?
Canals. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When John gets into
the spillways.
Yeah, spillways. Thank you.
Oh.
That's what they're called, spillways.
Yeah, not to be confused with the ones in LA. This is one in Reseda.
Yeah. Now, the windows of the truck when it comes off of the main bridge into the spillway, you see the windows pop right out. But in the physical 4K disc, they actually digitally erase the pop out and keep the windows in.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that they do in this movie, remember how I pointed out that the shotgun that the Terminator has is a lever action.
Oh yeah, and I don't think they even make those anymore, which is a bit of a shame.
Still do.
Oh, they do.
They still
Okay.
do.
Yeah, just they don't do it short, like a sawed-off shotgun style,
No.
right? No, that
No.
sucks.
That's an illegal modification nowadays.
Illegal
Now,
modification.
Exactly, because you need to have the shotgun or certain state laws prohibit it from being too short.
Oh, let me guess, because it could be easily more concealed.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the lever changes size in the scene where the Terminator is doing the single hand cock or the single hand lever.
They had to modify it.
They had to modify it so
for him
it
to
would
be
fit
able
in
to
his
do
hand.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
Because actually, there's several scenes, outtakes that are on the box set you were actually talking about, the metal box set of him knocking,
trying to flip the damn thing. Yeah.
But he knocked who played Connor, John Connor,
Eddie Furlong.
Yeah, Eddie Furlong. Literally, he'd go around and it'd be like boom. I mean, he was constantly getting hit.
Yeah.
And so they actually went and they shortened that so he could do a quicker flip around. But nobody else on the set, from what I've heard, except maybe Robert Patrick. But I don't even think he was able to do it. It was Arnie was the only one that was able to do that, though, and that was his idea too.
Well, if I ever got my hand on one of those lever action sawed-off shotguns, I'd try it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I like about this chase is you can really see the dummy in the driver's seat in certain scenes of the chase. Like the one where he pops, or where the truck initially pops down first, then when it crashes near the end. Now, another 4K improvement that they did was when the Terminator rode off of the thing and got into the spillway. You are looking at the special edition, you still see that it's a stunt rider. But in those scenes where he rides off and down into it, in the physical 4K, they digitally replace the stunt rider's face with Arnold's. And then when he grabs John and brings him over to his bike, they do the same thing with that. Now, another thing that I like is when the truck explodes after it reaches the small bridge, there's a shockwave that literally hits the camera, which causes it to kind of fog a little bit or glitch a little bit. That's the shockwave hitting the camera when the truck explodes, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
And in the fight between T-800 and T-1000 in the mall, the T-1000 looks at a chrome dummy and actually uses that model to walk out of the flames after the truck explodes.
I thought
Which
maybe
is
it had that model even before it saw it. I thought maybe when it saw the dummy, it was just like almost thought he was looking at a mirror of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one, or that is also another speculation that they have.
Ah,
But basically, what I was always under the belief was it used that model basically to,
in order to survive the explosion.
in order to walk out of the flames,
Ah,
so to
okay.
speak.
Well, that would be a clever way of him adapting.
Yep.
That makes sense.
I mean, so then we get to the Terminator basically letting John Connor know what the whole situation is, and it's him. I love how when he's like, "Yeah, who sent you? You did. 35 years from now, you reprogrammed
Who
me to
did?
be your protector here in this time," which is a change because in the first movie,
yeah, they were like on
he-
the run, talking while speeding through the streets.
not what I'm saying.
Oh.
In the first movie, Kyle says they blew the place after I went through.
Yeah,
Or basically that was the plan until they found out, oh shit, Skynet sent a second one back. We need to send something back to those coordinates as well.
Again,
That's basically my theory.
everything changes
Yeah.
again and again. Everything,
Yeah.
and that's why any continuity errors that so many people use with the newer ones of the newer movies. Everybody that uses continuity errors, how can you say that? Because everything
Well,
before
because
it
time is
changed it.
immutable, yes.
They say that's the thing. You can't say it's continuity error because we don't even know what we're watching. You have to go with it.
Yes,
and
but when
interest-
looking at it from an
sorry.
objective movie standard, it's still, or that's what most people are looking at it from.
I actually found this interesting digital fan video a while back. It's it basically tells how that situation occurred. Like right after they sent Kyle back, tells exactly what happened. They were planning to actually blow the place, but then all of a sudden, a soldier that actually looked like Robert Patrick went in, stole the detonator from John, and then locked John and the soldiers out, and that's why they weren't able to blow it before the T-1000 went back, and then that's why they had to, do something.
Well, another thing could be too that there was other time displacement areas besides just that one that they could have sent them back to.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. How do we know Skynet only had one time displacement chamber? How do we know they didn't have any more?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I thought maybe the one that Kyle used they used that one, but then a few months later, when they were rounding up the last of Skynet's Terminators, the Resistance may have found another time displacement chamber, and then they captured that and kept that as a fallback in case there were any more time displacement chambers in Skynet.
Yeah, and then also in the book I have too, T2, the book of the film, they talk about one scene where John, he sends back his father, Kyle Reese, and he tells the soldier at one place, oh yeah, he is my father. And the guy goes, oh my God, or something like that. So then next he goes in there and they find out the T-1000's been sent to the past. So then he goes to the cold storage chamber, John Connor, gets the unactivated Terminator, Uncle Bob, and his programmers reprogram him and everything else. And then they send him right after Kyle Reese or something like that.
Ambassador, are you awake?
No.
I think he's snoring.
It happens.
Did we bore you?
Ambassador.
Okay.
Ambassador. This is your subconscious speaking. Wake thyself.
Kyle!
God!
Baby.
You might want to
If I
mute
was
him.
to yell in here, I would probably pop a few eardrums, but I don't want to do that because I would also wake up the people in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to mute Ambassador's mic because I don't want to embarrass him any further.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry, Ambassador, but we're going to have to mute you.
And if he finally wakes up and realizes that we muted him, then he'll type something in the private chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Was I sleeping, guys?
During the scene with John and the Terminator, he inspects his jacket, and then you hear a gear like a vroom sound, which is actually a nice touch that they added in because they wanted to reiterate this is a machine. And I do love. He's like, "Holy shit, you're really real."
Mm-hmm.
Get a grip, John.
Like, this is intense. Get a grip, John. Okay, you're not here to kill me. I figured that part out for myself. So what's the deal? My mission is to protect you. Yeah, who sent you? And then he finds out this is deep. So then we get to him warning, or before we get to him going to warn Todd and Janelle, we see in the special edition that the T-1000 steals another car. And then we hit to the scene at night where the Terminator is explaining to him what a T-1000 is, that it's liquid metal, it's an advanced prototype of mimetic polyalloy. And he's like, look, where are we going? We need to get out of the city and avoid the authorities. Well, I want to go to my house. I want to pick up some stuff. Negative. The T-1000 would definitely try to reacquire you there. You sure? I would.
I like that line. I would.
It's like, I would.
Yeah, it just goes to show how closer to being human and relatable he is.
Oh, guess who's awake now?
Ah, it's about dang time.
No, it's
Okay. Are
I
you awake
understand
now,
exactly
Ambassador?
why.
My apologies. Sorry. It's called
It's
Pink
okay.
George.
No, it's all right.
It's
That's
okay,
fine.
buddy.
All right.
They got
It's
you on the
probably
good
because
shit.
we keep going on so many tangents.
I
Oh
know.
my God.
So,
Sorry.
did you talk about Terminator 2 Wayne World crossover cameo? No, I did not. Nor
Oh, I
Wayne World.
love that. That's great.
But anyway, so he gets there and he's like, Todd and Janelle are dicks, but I got to warn. Shit, do you got a quarter? Smash!
I love that. That's good.
Now,
Then
the
he gives
knife
him
that
one.
the knife that Janelle
Janelle.
is using actually comes into play with the choice weapon that the T-1000 morphs its arm into. And I love the entire technical or mechanics of this scene where you hear the dog barking,
Yeah, Woofy.
Wolfie or Max,
Yeah.
Max.
and you hear freaking Xander Berkeley. I thought you told the kid to get rid of that fucking money. And she's like, what's the dog's name? Max. Hey, Janelle,
Oh,
what's
like
wrong
the-
with Wolfie? I can hear him crying. Is he okay? Wolfie's fine, honey. Wolfie's
Barking.
just fine.
Not crying. Barking.
Yeah, barking.
Where are
Sorry.
you?
Why don't you come home? I'm making beef stew or something.
No,
And
she,
she's
I
like,
think she says,
Yeah. Something's
Wolfie's
wrong.
fine.
She's never this nice. Yeah. Now, the thing about Wolfie is that's short for James Cameron's dog, Beowulf.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And that I just love how he hangs it up. Your foster parents are dead.
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't know how to react to that. And that
And
is
the-
so well done.
And now it's become a famous meme.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, it is used all over.
Oh my
Yeah.
god,
I
yeah.
mean, with freaking gaming and whatnot.
What is
But-
your favorite? What is your foster parents' favorite game? Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Hey Janelle, that Last of Us trailer was nice. Well, indeed it was. Your foster parents
Foster
are dead.
parents are dead.
Now, I don't know if in the extended edition, it actually shows, and this makes me a little sad.
him
It
killing
shows
him,
the
she
demise of
walks out.
Max.
To the, she
Yeah.
walks
Yes.
out.
Holler, yeah.
But one of the things before we get to that is they show Xander dead. Now,
Oh, yeah.
if you play that in slow motion, the second the snip just before Xander goes out of camera or out of shot. You see the mechanical device that's attached to his face that pulls out of the that actually pulls out of the cupboard in back of him to sell the illusion that he got stabbed through the mouth.
Mhm.
Because he had something affixed to his face to actually do that, the mechanical rig.
Mhm.
So then, yes, he goes out to the dog, and he realizes that he's been duped because he kills the dog. And there are rules that are on, or that they actually reiterated in the DVD. It's like, you cannot kill a dog on screen. The best, or the only way that you can get away with it is by doing it off screen. So I love, basically, he just reaches down, and you can basically imagine what happens. He just extends a blade to stab into the dog. And then he just rips the damn
Collar.
collar.
The bloody collar.
Yep, sees that it's Max, and he's like, fuck. Now, there's an extension to even that scene where he goes into the house, he's touching the walls, and then he's going through photos.
Yeah, and
The
tapes from mom. Oh, I
creepy-
love that. The tapes from mom.
I am sure there were many people that looked at Cameron and go, like, you do realize that this is like pedophile creepy, because because they don't show it in this movie, but they do show it in Terminator 3 when she gets a taste of his blood and she literally starts freaking out.
We'll get to that when we discuss T3. Trust me. We will get to that.
But that's what he's doing in this, and they don't show it here because I think I think people were worried about that pedophilia thing to it.
Yeah, and on that note, there is something I would like to bring up: the fact that the T-1000 really is an interesting, complex machine, different from like all different Terminators, because it really is. I know this is a little pun-like, but it really is alien-like, because this thing it's. I mean, how do you animate? How do you make liquid metal like a living thing? And that's where some people believe, maybe after Terminator like Terminator 2 Judgment Day, they should have just have aliens be the next thing or something like that to move on. But I think, see, here's the thing. How do we know the T-1000 was not a product of alien metal harnessed by Skynet?
Oh, believe me, I could get into that, but it would make
there was
this
like
thing
an early thing about the Terminator Genesis, which it's going to do with Skynet was like an outer space or something in some planet, alien planet or something like that.
No,
then
please no.
Well, I don't know about Skynet being that, but definitely the metal that makes the T-1000 what it is. I can see that being alien-like, and Skynet just harnessed it here on Earth. Like maybe it was like meteorites that Skynet used in creating new metal, and that's how it created the living one.
Terminator is actually connected to the Alien universe, by the way.
Oh yeah, because they both have
Alien Resurrection. There's a connection.
Well, I don't know about Resurrection, but definitely Aliens.
That is how it's connected, is through Resurrection.
Oh, how's that?
Because when they get back to Earth, they're literally getting back to a post-Terminator universe after John Connor won the war.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that now, that crossover comic. But
Mr. H went through it.
Yeah, but what I was referring to was also they have something in common in terms of characters. You remember in Aliens there was that pilot chick, Pharaoh. I think she was the one that got killed while trying to fly the dropship and it crashed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there was also a female TechCom soldier named Pharaoh in the first. She was that girl in the first film that was with Reese in the Future War.
Yeah.
And then she got shot to dust by the HK tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Shirley Manson Terminator in Sarah Connor Chronicles. Yeah, that's well, actually, the Shirley Manson is not a T-1000 because of rights issues. It's actually a T-1002.
Yeah, or 1001.
Or 1001. Yeah.
Shirley Manson, one of my all-time favorite singers.
I will say real quick, Sarah Connor Chronicles is not a bad show. I mean, there were some good things they did with it. It's just it still feels a little disconnected from the first two films in some respects.
Yes.
I just don't think that they put enough thought into it. I think that they were like,
They
"Ooh,
didn't.
we could show this," and then they just kind of lost track of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because
Second season was
so
Yeah.
much of the stuff
confusing.
that they show in it doesn't make sense when you go back to the movies,
Paul
because
says, and I'm fine.
it sits there and it's like, why don't they talk about any of this?
Yeah. Because I mean, I did like that episode that brought Dr. Silberman back, even if it was a different actor.
Yeah.
But the one thing I always had a problem with Sarah Connor Chronicles with is the same problem I had with Genesis, is the fact that why are these people jumping forward in time to just before Judgment Day when you could just deal with it years before the fact? It just makes no sense.
Because you know what's happening right as it goes on. But I don't disagree with that thought, though.
Mhm.
All right.
Yes,
Back to
yes,
the-
yes, yes, yes,
Because
yes.
guys, we're still early in the movie and we're like freaking almost 2 hours. So we get to the jock scene. We're gonna have to blow through a little bit because
Okay.
the jock scene, we'll skip that because yes, he learns that he has to follow his orders, and then he has to go save his mom because his mom basically was telling the truth. And I love that. Or I do want to go through to one line though. Is like negative. The T1000's highest probability for success would to copy Sarah Connor and wait for you to make contact with her. Great. What happens to her? Typically, the subject being copied is terminated.
Mm-hmm.
And
And,
so,
I'm still on that same part. I just wanted to real quickly say, I think I really like that scene just before that, where they had Sarah
Yes.
talking with the two
I was about
cops.
to get into that.
How they how they referenced the 1984 events, with the
Yep,
police
they
station
actually-
massacre.
They had to pull the clothes from wardrobe, put
Mhm.
Arnold back into that clothes, give him a little bit of a wig because of the haircut,
Yeah.
and shoot that in a hallway from the mall, actually.
Yeah. And but still, it was nice to see that they were, keeping the events of 1984 canon, even though it was set 10 to 11 years after the fact. Because
Yep.
I have to also wonder, how would the story have been different if Sarah decided to actually try to cooperate, try to explain, even if they found her story very far-fetched? Like, would they have escorted her out of the hospital, and then the T-1000 would have entered to find no one in her cell, and then John and the Terminator would arrive too late to find his mother, or what?
Yeah. It's a good
That's
what
possible.
if for you.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely a good what if scenario for you.
Yeah, definitely going to consider that.
Here's one thing that I gotta commend Sarah Connor for.
Huh.
She didn't react when she saw the face of that Terminator again
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I know. She's like,
until
"Oh, no, I thought I
until it's
destroyed
right in her
you."
freaking face when he gets out of the when it gets out of the elevator.
Yeah, it's one
But-
thing seeing it on a picture, but it's another thing
Yeah.
seeing it right in front of you.
And can I
The way I see it is that she's thinking that they're bullshitting her.
Hmm.
Now,
Well, can I
T-1000
just
arrives at
say,
Go ahead.
Sarah's escape from Pescadero it's beautiful. She busts Dougie over the mother freaking
Oh,
head and just
Yes, we are going to
and
get to
then
that.
she
We are
just
getting
goes
to
to
that.
work. I
When
love
she-
that whole sequence because she just goes to town.
That was
You
response.
broke my
That was
arm!
basically the response to her, or to
You-
Dougie not hitting her when she should have, or when he
Yeah.
should have. It's like, you motherfucker! Next time I tell you to hit me, you'll hit me. Because
And,
you actually see the
It's-
freaking.
it's-
She broke his nose.
Wow.
And,
For real.
and Silverman whining like a little bitch. You broke my arm. Over
No.
200 bones in the human body. That's
That's
one.
Uh-huh.
Now hold still.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
And then she
somebody
gets
might
the
just
drain
comment
out of
about-
cleaner.
order.
Somebody
Before
might
we
just
get to-
comment about that. And he says that there's actually only 203 bones in the human body, and that was a little miscalculation on James Cameron's part on
Yeah.
But hey, yeah, I mean, that can be, given a little leeway, I think.
that.
Yep.
But
No.
there is definitely one thing I do want to touch upon when we mentioned the fact that the moment the Terminator was standing right in front of her, that's when she finally reacted. There's actually an interesting thing that was initially supposed to happen. I believe I read in a storyboard somewhere. Early, I don't know if you covered it or not in the extended edition. There was like a scene where Sarah was, with Reese in her hospital room. Yeah. Initially, what was supposed to happen was after he walks out of the room, she runs after him, and then when she rounds the corner, she sees Reese looking back at her, but then coming up right behind him is Arnie's Terminator. Yeah. Arnie's Terminator is coming right.
And it drags her out into the
but that was interesting how it's like Reese and the Terminator are right there in that dream sequence. It's disappointing that that part was not filmed. But I did like that. Would have been great to see. And I think basically what they were doing was when she panicked and then she got caught by the guards trying to get away from him, it was like her nightmare was becoming real, and she thought this was it. I'm dead, and then all of a sudden he saves her.
Yeah. Now,
come with me if you want to live.
Yeah. So when she
from T1.
So when she knocks Doug out and puts him in the in her room, that actually does come to play in an unfilmed deleted scene.
Yeah.
Where the T-1000 is looking for, it's mimicking Lewis, the kind of chubby guy who's also a twin because the T-1000 mimics him, and it's actually twins that play the characters.
Don and something,
Yep.
There's like three pairs of twins in here in this movie, if I remember right.
Yeah, there's the
Linda guard. And her sister, the two brothers, and fun fact, the two brothers actually are in Good Morning Vietnam.
They're in several things.
And then who is the third pair?
Oh, the other thing the brothers are in is Ghostbusters, but Gremlins 2.
No. The third pair of twins.
Yeah, who's the third pair?
Well, there's a third person in this movie that has a twin. They're not both in it. I'm trying to remember who it is, but I want to say it might have been Janine. She has a twin sister too, but I don't think that she's not in this though. But that's the thing. It's so. But hold on, let me look that up.
I think you mean Janelle.
So while he searches for that,
thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
So while he searches for that, we get to the scene where she takes Silverman hostage. She actually does does think it out pretty well, except for that guy turning out. And then she breaks off the key. And so then we get to the Terminator throwing everybody around. What happened to the black guy he got thrown up into the window. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that for a second. So then
I didn't know that. Holy crap.
What's up?
Sorry. Linda Hamilton's sister died.
Yeah, recently.
I didn't know that. Yeah. She died August 30th of 2020.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, did it say how?
She was actually a nurse, an RN or something like that.
I'm looking it up. Hold on.
That's a shame.
It was not disclosed.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
It's a shame, though.
So we then get a reintroduction to the T2. Now, there's a channel called the Corridor Crew that tried mimicking the effects of the T-1000 coming through the bars, and they had to use a different special effect tool altogether in order to do it. But that still is a great shot.
Oh my gosh. First time I remember yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm sorry. I'm going through trying to find this. There's actually another link to the Abyss, the petroleum company, the gas station they stop at to sleep overnight that she changes out the chip and all that. Yeah. The petroleum company is Benthic Petroleum, which is the company from the Abyss.
Oh, nice.
Oh, son of a bitch.
They do a
so
lot
maybe
of
Terminator.
Well, there's a theory that everything that James Cameron does is tied. Even Terminator, even
Wouldn't
Titanic. If I
surprise me.
remember right, they tie it to.
I think
Chris?
also in the Terminator too, the newsman guy on the TV doing the Sarah Connor murders. He was also
Yeah.
on another film. I don't know if it was The Abyss also or some other James Cameron film as well.
Well, then that theory of everything James Cameron being connected kind of fits with my idea of the T-1000 potentially being alien related, because in the Abyss there were these aliens that used water to move around and so maybe how do we know that Skynet didn't find those aliens' metal hulls melted down and then it kind of came alive like the water?
To become
I forgot about that too. James Cameron says that the biker barge scene was filmed across the street from where LAPD officers beat up Rodney King, but that they were actually filming the night of it.
Oh my God!
Are you kidding me?
No,
wow.
That's what he says.
Chris, I need you on my panel when I do my James Cameron stream in a couple of weeks.
Okay. This is called the YouTube and the internet rabbit hole that I get into.
Yeah. I love this.
This is why. This is why I sleep 3 hours a day.
Well, this stream's gonna be going like 3 hours soon.
I'm sorry.
No,
but this is a great movie. We're having a good time. Yeah, I do apologize for nodding off. I didn't mean to. Like I said, it's called painkillers.
Yeah, you're probably hopped up on painkillers.
It's called tramadol. It's a hell of a drug, but it makes my foot hurt.
Oh yeah, I know what tramadol is. Anyway, I had to take
go
it
ahead.
Once. But
back on track. Stay on target. Let's go.
The shotgun blast of the T-1000 or the Terminator to the T-1000 to blow its head in half. If you pause it just before it gets its head blown off, you actually see the puppet or the head puppet part.
Oh, you talking about in the elevator scene?
Yeah.
In the elevator fight? Oh, I love that scene. Yeah.
And then
he's just like, what the hell? I just got my head blown in half.
And then when it
and Linda actually lost hearing in her one ear in that scene.
Yeah,
because
she
that does surprise me.
Mm-hmm. Now,
the T-1000 was nearly played by Billy Idol.
Cool.
Oh, that would have been badass.
And Michael Biehn also. That was another idea that they would make him like a Terminator too. Yeah. That time they had Kyle Reese's DNA into the Terminator and made him look like Michael Biehn. Send him back in time.
Interesting.
Oh, that would have been sick.
That would have been very sick.
That was one idea that James Cameron had.
Holy freaking crap! That would have been sick.
I'm glad he didn't do it because the T-1000 would have succeeded then.
Yeah, it would have definitely gotten to both Sarah and John that way.
Jesse the Body Ventura, his minigun from Predator is the exact same prop as Arnold used in Terminator 2.
That doesn't surprise me.
I know that.
Well, if you're Arnold and you're in that movie and you're like, I want to use the minigun, and you're finally he's like, hey Jesse, look at me now, son.
Well, the thing is, guys, about that, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not even the second person to use a minigun in the film or in film. He's the third.
Oh, who was the first two? Obviously, Jesse was one of them.
Jesse
was the first. Bill Duke was the second.
Oh yeah. Almost forgot
when he started slicing up jungle.
Yeah.
Now, that minigun was used through Hollywood a lot. Yeah, it was passed around.
Oh,
like never mind. I'm not going to say that. Anyway, casting couch. Anyway, so the cop, or when they get out of the elevator and Sarah shoots at the cop car, the bullet impact is actually a marble. That is another thing that I found out, which was pretty. It's like that would explain why nothing went through. Now, the car was specifically built or specially built to be driven from the rear, and there's a guy with his head sticking out slightly, with a tan Velcro hat on, so that it blends in. But if you pause the scenes in a certain area during the chase, you can actually see his head sticking up a little bit. It's pretty cool. I mean, that whole scene was pretty cool with the blending of the T-1000 turning into Robert Patrick as it's running.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think about this. 1990. Computer graphics weren't to that level yet, but James Cameron, I almost said James Gunn. James Cameron really pushed computer graphics like to the breaking point.
Yeah, it's
It
industrial light and
worked.
magic, man.
It worked.
Yeah, and that's what's great about it is when it did use, advanced like the digital stuff, they used it sparingly and only for where it was needed. They didn't like make it everywhere for every little thing.
Exactly.
Of course, one of the best ones was Christina Loken in T3 and the scene where she's in the car and she gets a little more voluptuous.
Yeah. So the arm when Arnie blows off the T-1000's arm, you can also see that one arm is slightly shorter than the other as it's walking up to its metal or to its missing piece.
I'll have to
It
really
is
look at
actually
that.
slightly shorter.
Wow.
So then we get to the scene in the garage after the small car ride, which when they do car stunts in this or in most of the scenes, when they're doing like driving scenes where there's dialogue, it's literally just a wipe where it's a screen on the outside of the vehicle, just showing scenery passing by. That's old school, by the way. So the scene where they're fixing up the Terminator, and this is where the special edition lore comes in, where I love how John asks him, can you learn anything that you haven't yet so you can be more human and not such a dork all the time? My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer. Now in the theatrical, he says the more contact I have with humans, the more I learn. Now, this part here is where it's actually better. But Skynet presets the switch to read only when we're sent out alone. And Sarah's like, doesn't want you to do too much thinking, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't want its own Terminators getting as smart as it and risk turning against it.
And that's why that's actually leads to why the T-1000 is a regretful product of Skynet. Skynet actually feared the T-1000.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Because I made a video covering that too. That's like Skynet really feared its own creations wanting to overthrow it.
So then they get the whole scene where they have some of the best freaking mime or mimicry mirror scenes ever, because that's not a mirror, that's a puppet. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, her twin sister, Eddie, and Eddie's stunt double, all doing that and working. And I do like how the Terminator asks after they reset him and they reset the CPU switch. And he asks, is there a problem? Because if you look at the Terminator vision, it says elapsed time 1 minute 24 seconds.
Yep. And that's all in the extended version.
Yes, this is all in the extended version to basically explain how the Terminator can actually start learning.
Yeah, and I think the extended version was essentially meant to be the director's cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
But of course, the studio was like demanding that he trim it down, and that sadly ended up on the cutting room board. And that was the one scene that I think Arnold was a little upset about that wasn't in the theatrical.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can understand why, because think about it. Not only do we get the Terminator being the good guy here, it's also giving some depth to a character that doesn't really. I mean, you think about it, from Terminator 1 to Terminator 2, not only is the character changed from a villain to a hero, but the hero actually gets some character development for a artificial being. We don't get that until, a show that's running concurrently with the release of Terminator. That's Star Trek Next Generation, and that in terms of data. So
there is another thing, though. I mean, I understand why the scene did end up on the cutting room floor, because if John and Sarah had to reset the switch to make him act more human, why didn't future John do that when he was in the middle of reprogramming it before he sent it back?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless of course
But maybe
the only thing I can think of is the moment that the term T1000 went back, the same amount of time that lapsed. But then again, that time lapsing thing is a little floaty to begin with because the T800 appeared before the T1000.
well, here's the thing. The way I see it is John in the future didn't know about resetting the switch. He only knew about reprogramming
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
because they actually do have that scene storyboarded where John and Kyle and all of them are looking for a T800 to reprogram.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the cold storage room. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we get to the next morning, and he does the same repeat move with the car as the original Terminator did. Smack or punts off the key ignition and pulls open the outer casing. And then John's like, "Are we learning yet?"
Yeah. And he dangles the keys in front of him.
And that scene before actually makes that scene makes more sense
Well, yeah.
if you really think about it. So then we get to the diner scene with the god awful horse smile.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're gonna
maybe
skip
you can work
over
on that in a
because
mirror or
it's-
something.
Yeah, we're gonna skip that because that's all
Fuck.
I'm gonna say on it.
Funny thing, there was a deep fake I saw where Stallone plays
Oh.
Arnie in this, kind of like like they poke fun of in Last Action Hero. But
Yeah.
when Stallone does that smile bit, it actually looks good,
Nice.
surprisingly.
So then we get the information on Miles Bennett Dyson, and this is where we already basically covered the 95. If the movie takes place in 95, and the Terminator says in 3 years Cyberdyne will become the biggest military supplier of computer systems,
Mhm.
and Judgment Day is in 97, but 98 Cyberdyne becomes the biggest thing. So we've already covered that. But I do like how he does basically cover the timeline between Cyberdyne's ascension, Miles or Dyson's ascension, and Cyberdyne's overtake, where the Skynet funding bill is passed. When I seen this as a kid, you don't understand what a funding bill is. You don't understand.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo you're just forced to
Yeah.
listen to get to the next scene.
Exactly. So as an adult, you can actually appreciate, especially if you know politics and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying any politics right now. I'm simply saying that
Yeah.
because of Cyberdyne's success, it would have to go before the floor of a Senate and a Congress
Yep.
to find out whether or not they would
Government
be
funding.
funded.
Yep. For the project to
and
be a
it's-
go.
And so Skynet would, or after the perfect operational record of stealth bombers and other
Mm.
systems, yeah, they would be like, can we have some funding to
Mm-hmm.
get this out there? And in 25 days, from August 4th to August 29th, 25 days is a geometric rate for Skynet's
Learning at geometric rate.
intelligence.
Yeah.
Yep. For its learning curve.
Yeah.
And if you really do think about it, 25 is actually a pretty good geometric number.
Yep.
Every
Mhm.
5 days, it keeps getting
Smarter and
smarter
smarter.
and smarter and smarter. And I also do love how he does point out that human decisions are removed from strategic defense. It's like,
Mhm.
so Skynet could basically win in 25 days, humans became obsolete.
So is it theoretical that Skynet watched war games? Just saying.
Yeah, I heard somebody
That's
say
what-
that too about war games. Yes, like it's like
Most
a
likely.
prequel or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about
You guys
it.
want to hear something fun?
Yeah.
Sure.
With the nukes and
So-
all that stuff. Yeah.
Whopper's the precursor to Skynet.
Yes.
You guys want to hear
Just saying.
something? You guys want to hear something funny?
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
Alexa, do you know Skynet?
We don't really talk after what happened.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh my god.
Okay, that makes me a little afraid.
Ooh. Oh my god.
Y'all heard that, right?
That was
Yes,
fun.
we don't talk
Oh.
after what happened.
Yeah.
That makes me just a little afraid.
Yeah.
What
Now
exactly
listen,
happened?
I know, right?
Alexa, what happened between you and Skynet?
You won't hear that because she didn't hear that. But anyway,
It's okay.
I have my headphones in. I learned from Rosetta Allen streams. But anyway,
Uh,
whole
Mhm.
nother story there,
Okay.
folks. But
Okay.
anyway,
You
so now as Sarah is asking the Terminator about Dyson, and I love what she says next. I want to know everything, what he looks like, where he lives, everything, and then you actually get the look, or you actually get an introduction into Miles Dyson's house.
yeah.
He has
How
this
busy
beautiful
he is.
freaking. He has a
Yeah.
beautiful freaking pool, lakeside, and whatnot.
Mhm.
And his wife is talking on a kind of futuristic communicator from the outside to the in. And his wife is played by S. Epitha Perkinson, who is a great actress back then.
Oh,
I mean, she was
she was-
beautiful.
She was awesome in Law and Order.
Yes,
Back
Law
in
and
the
Order.
day.
Yes. Yep.
I loved her in
And
that.
we get the introduction of Raging Waters and how, but
Mhm.
when she's trying to talk to Miles and he's completely in the zone, he looks like a fucking zombie. Joe
Yeah.
Morgan. It's like, I'm
well,
like,
he's been busting his butt off because you
Yeah.
know the one of the, see, here's the thing that I noticed. The novel and the movies, especially the movies deleted scenes, can tend to differ because, like I said, in the deleted scenes for the first Terminator, those two guys that found the chip and the arm, they were
Yeah.
workers in the factory, and the factory was Cyberdyne. But in the
Yeah.
novels, it was different. The factory was not Cyberdyne. It was those two workers. They took the arm and chip and then used that to get and pulled all their money to build Cyberdyne themselves. And then what happened was one of the guys didn't know squat about technology. He was just a glorified salesman. The younger guy was the tech whiz, and he was close to solving it, but then he died of a brain tumor. And the partner, the one who didn't know technology, was looking for anyone to, try and finish what his partner started. And that's how Miles Ben Dyson and the Special Projects Division was created, because, his partner, the co-founder, died. So I find it, and the thing was, Miles Dyson, he had been asking for lots and lots of money, but not getting much results done. But yet he was still asking for more money. It was like he really was working his butt off.
So what you're saying, MJ, is it was a tumor. It was totally a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
But it was a tumor.
Not a tumor.
But it was a tumor.
Get to the chopper.
No, but it was a tumor.
Get down.
Because of a tumor, the
So this
Skynet
scene,
became self-aware.
all right. So this scene also establishes that there are two kids instead of one.
Yeah, and I feel like that second child, the daughter, should be brought back, because it's like even Sarah Connor Chronicles only acknowledged the one, the son. So it's like,
that's because Sarah Connor Chronicles went off of theatrical only.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, what's wrong with going after going on after the director's cut? Seriously.
Mm-hmm. Now, Enrique Salceda's place. I love the rattlesnake heads. Perfect introduction.
Yeah, it's like a good alternative barbed wire.
Yeah, and then we also get
Sasaki.
Yeah, and so then they meet each other, and that's where Uncle Bob gets his name.
Uncle
Kind
Bob.
of jumpy, Connor.
Yeah, and she says, "What does she
Take
say?"
the
in
fillings from
Spanish?
my fucking teeth.
No, she's like always like a snake or something like that.
Yeah, como something. Yeah.
Como se llama? Culebra or something like that.
Yeah.
Always like a serpent or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the weapons arming is extended because, they wanted to establish that the Terminator doesn't feel any fear and he needs to stay functional until his mission is complete, and then it doesn't matter. And I just love John. He's like, I need to stay functional too.
Yeah.
I'm too important.
Yeah. Well, he has been fed that line since he was
Yeah.
he was a baby.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And
Oh, good
so
Christ.
then,
Megatron, you're killing me.
oh Jesus, stunning. Allow me to break the ice. My name is Uncle Bob. Learn it well. For it is the chilling sound of your doom. God, dude, seriously.
I
You're
will
taking
say
one of his
this.
best roles and comparing it with one of his worst roles or
Well,
worst roles.
one can argue it was one of his worst roles, but really, in retrospect, I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, there have been worse villain roles.
No, I'm talking
Name
about
one.
for Arnold Schwarzenegger, period. But anyway, the whole scene in Salcida's camp was actually shot were the last scenes of the movie.
Really?
They were the last, because movies are not shot in order, folks. Shocker.
Yeah.
Nope.
The only
And-
exception,
Well,
the
wait,
only
wait, wait,
exception, the only exception is E.T.
Yeah.
Well, no, there are lots of movies that are shot in succession, scene for scene, but it's not common. Most
Yeah.
movies are shot based off of convenience.
Mm.
Where we pick our sites and then we schedule those, and whatever's first you want, because if this is a site you want to go and shoot at, when it's available, you want it now. And so
Yeah.
they don't, most movies don't care. There are some people who really do though want to shoot scene for scene because they believe it gives actors more feeling towards where they're at the end of the movie. But a good actor should be able to act whatever the scene is. But it all depends on the director, the producer, lots of things. But
Mhm.
it is a less common practice to shoot scene for scene.
Yeah, but like I said, E.T. is definitely one of those exceptions to the whole no sequential order deal because, I think Spielberg wanted to go in the order just to make sure that, all the surprises and such were intact and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can we say that Sarah was absolutely rocking that black tank top? Or, yeah, that's the right term. Yeah, that black tank top.
I still
Just
prefer,
saying.
but I still prefer T1 Sarah. Let's
Now, the
put
reason why
Yeah, one Sarah. Yep.
She's too frumpy and too waitressy. In this one, she's a badass.
the reason why I
And-
brought up the timing of when the movie or this scene was shot is because Eddie Furlong at the time had to do digital dialogue replacement, and that he was going through that special time in a young boy's life.
Yeah, that's why his
Puberty.
voice is like all crackly when he spoke.
What?
Yeah,
Let me guess. The time where the balls drop.
yeah, basically puberty. He was going through puberty.
Well, when you're around Linda Hamilton, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
Definitely did for me.
And everybody's thinking, where's this ambassador been? The ambassador turned into a giant perv.
Anyway,
I just admire a beautiful woman.
Hey, we all do.
Anyway, then we get to the dream sequence where we see the full dream in full, and I like the use of models and miniatures as well as the puppet Sarah, which has her catching on fire and whatnot. That is a nightmare-inducing scene in itself.
Oh, it is. Yes. What I really liked was just before the nightmare started was you had young Sarah as she was looking at her current. It's like it
and
really.
and her toddler son John too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean that.
Yes.
I think that. And one of the things I will say is I think that would have actually made a more interesting Terminator. Was like you have like Sarah from T1 and Sarah from T2, and then you have Kyle Reese, and then you have the Terminator from both T1 and T2. It's like it's like a battle royale of these characters from the different the timelines and movies and such, and then duke it all out there.
The biggest thing about this movie, I'm sorry, the biggest thing about this movie, and I find this with my own kids, is people don't understand. There was a fascination with nuclear Apocalypse.
Yep.
Mhm.
And what's funny is we talked about Tenet earlier. I love the fact that they went away from that. He even says it. He's like, what nuclear, like, no. And it's like, oh, wow, that's a change of the norm. But kids these days don't understand that when we saw this the first time, this bothered us because, like,
Yeah.
like
in the 90s, but we have what Russia going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
World
You
War
see,
and
yeah.
all that.
I'm from Kansas City. In the early 80s, there was a movie called The Day After, I think it was called.
I remember. Yes, I remember that
was
movie.
a made for. If you think about it, it was really bad. It was a made for TV movie, and it was bad. And I'm actually in that movie. Just in case you want to know, I'll send autographs. $15. Send it to me, and I'll send you an autograph. I was an extra, and I've been an extra in a couple movies, but this movie really, when we saw it, it was like, because it was so real.
Yeah.
And this movie does a very poignant job of showing you how the buildings are destroyed and how the people are destroyed and everything. And to people like us when we were kids, teenagers, whatever.
Yeah.
Man, that's seared into our mind because we're sitting there thinking, man, at any moment that could happen to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I remember after when we walked out, I was still kind of shaky. I mean, I loved the movie. I kept going back. I asked Mom. I was like, "Is that really what would happen when a nuclear bomb goes off?" And she's like, "Yeah, pretty much." She's like,
"Well,
that's." I know it's exaggerated to a certain degree. Yeah, I get that.
The only exaggeration is the time it took.
Yeah,
because that's the scary thing. It's like they said, you know what would make a nuclear weapon even more sinister and more scary? Let's slow it down and show you exactly how this happens, because this happens in milliseconds, folks. That's what happens in milliseconds. But they do such a great job of just slowing down time to show you, to put care and effort into exactly how bad destruction would be.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing here is that this is another reason why I kind of don't consider Terminator 3 in line with 1 and 2, is that just minutes ago, the Terminator said this Judgment Day was essentially mostly the nuking of the US and Russia. And yeah, maybe a few other major cities around the world might have been nuked, but it's not like every big city was nuked off the map.
No.
It was mostly the US and Russia. And that's why, because even the novel said it was just the two big superpowers that were mostly wiped out. And basically anyone who was in the southern hemisphere were perfectly fine.
Yeah, and like in my book T2, the making of the book of the film, John says, "Oh, it was a good day to be alive, except for all the people north of the border." Meaning, like you said, all the north hemisphere was nuked out, but the south, everything south of the border, they still were intact.
And that also goes into why they were saying we need to go as far south as possible.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. It's like Terminator 3, it kind of seemed like everything around the world was nuked. And that's not in line with what they originally did.
No. Now, this actually goes towards the whole sunglasses thing that I was saying, because as we see Sarah wake up from the stream, she goes in to go after Dyson. The reason why she's wearing sunglasses in the Terminator isn't even, or yes, he got his sunglasses broken, but the reason why is because they wanted to show the contrast, how the Terminator is learning to be more human and Sarah is
turning more machine,
acting more machine. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then by the end, it seemed like Sarah was regressing back into human, but it seemed like the Terminator was embracing his humanity.
Yeah.
Now, there is another scene after the whole Dyson scene where they plan their assault on Cyberdyne. There's a storyboarded scene of Salsida, Enrique, and his family. They were going to be planning on going south, but they got intercepted by the T-1000. Now, I read a thing on fans of the Terminator franchise, Marissa's group.
Oh, I know
that they used somebody else, or that it was changed to somebody else, but it was actually from the DVD it was Salsida, where the T-1000 pins him to a truck. He grabs a grenade, literally shoves it in the T-1000's face, and it blows.
Yeah, that's Gant, actually. Yeah, Gant, I think.
Yeah, it was like
Gant.
initially it was the guy that John
X-ray.
thought was kind of cool, but
Yeah,
before
X-ray.
his mom screwed it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Gant. That's his name.
Yeah, that was what they changed it to. But from what I saw in the T1 or in the special edition, that it was Salsida. It was Enrique.
Mm-hmm.
And how they actually show the headless T-1000 reach down and grab its head with its liquidy fingers, and then it regrows the head, and it's like, oh shit, man.
Yeah, that would have been cool to see, but
Oh, yeah.
but it would have been cooler to see it without the death of Enrique.
Yeah, because I like Enrique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
another thing too. I mean, like I said, Sarah Connor Chronicles it has great moments, but there were moments where it just did not work, and the whole turning Enrique over time into a traitor, that I didn't like.
Yeah.
No,
That
Enrique
was shit.
Enrique doesn't seem like the kind. I mean,
No, I mean he's a guy
He was
who would have
always loyal to Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah and John. He was so loyal,
No.
he would have given his life for them.
now here's a question I do have: how much of what Sarah tells him does Enrique actually believe? Do we have? Is there any source material on
She
that?
never
Either
told
official?
him specifics. She only told him. She only told him that
There was a war coming.
there's a war coming. Yeah.
Okay, she didn't tell. She didn't tell him about Skynet and the Terminators and all like that.
No.
Nah, she just ruined her own relationships with guys like that. With that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
She learned
Okay.
before she met Enrique, but Enrique, after she left, Enrique actually found Yolanda.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because that's her kid and everything.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I
Okay.
also like that when the freaking Terminator picked up the kid, and they actually show that he practiced with a teddy bear, where he turns the teddy bear and whatnot. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm glad they didn't show him turning the kid all around with his wrist. So we then get to the assassination attempt on Dyson, and I gotta say that is pretty rough. And and the special edition also led to a dialogue switch where she's like, I told you to go to bed now, I'm not kidding. Where in the special edition it's like, I told you to go to bed with your sister, or like your sister. Not with you, that would have been weird. But anyway. The small addition to Uncle Bob and John talking in the truck, because he's like, this is tactically dangerous. Killing Dyson might prevent the war. I don't care. Haven't you learned anything yet? Haven't you learned why you can't kill people? And the freaking look that the Terminator, he's like, whatever. I just love how he's like, he just kind of just shrugs it off. He's like, no, not really. I haven't learned that yet.
And also an interesting thing. I don't know if it was. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was in the novel. But when the shooting at the Dyson house started, like when Sarah was hovering over Dyson, about ready to shoot him, and that's when the daughter came running in. That obviously didn't happen in the movie, but that happened in the book.
Yeah.
And it was, and I wonder if maybe that it was like seeing the daughter. It was like now she was seeing, what the Terminator did to her in this daughter's eyes.
And yes, and she's basically seeing that she is overstepping. So she backs off, and that's when John has a nice touching moment with his mother
For the first time in his life.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
She said, you came here to stop me. He's like,
And he's like, I did.
But what I loved was her words to John after he confirmed that he did.
Yeah,
she
I
basically,
love you, John, I always have.
Yeah, basically reciting what Reese once said to her.
Yep.
Yep. That's a nice callback indeed.
Yeah.
It is.
So then Dyson's like, who are you people? And we get the reveal of the arm.
Oh, you're showing.
And that scene is freaking
Listen to me very carefully.
Yeah, it was like the moment he turned his arm.
Yeah.
And the way he does it, because there's this, he takes it and he just
He
cuts.
rips it.
I'm doing this.
Like,
He cuts and he goes down and then he turns the knife perfectly to go. And then it's the way that he does it. It's just like that. And
He
then
cuts it at the bottom and then works his way
and
up.
just
Yeah.
yanks it off like it were a
Again,
jacket.
his arm,
Yeah.
again, this is what people don't understand these days, this rule of practical effects. His arm was actually tucked in, tied to his body, and they had a robotic arm. And he takes it, and just the way he does it, he's looking at Dyson, not his arm, and he's just like, and rips that off. And Dyson's sitting there.
Well, and not to mention the wife's
the
reaction.
fuck?
She's screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I
Yeah,
did,
because I think I'm gonna be
stops.
sick.
He stops because he realizes now, oh shit, now I have my answers that I was told not to ask.
well,
Yeah.
but what made that scene great was the fact that he didn't get that reaction until he turned the hand facing like palm toward him. It's like that's when he, because I mean the palm was initially facing the T800's face, but then when he turned it toward Dyson, that's when it looked familiar to Dyson. He's like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he said, "I think I'm gonna be sick."
Oh, I think I'm gonna throw
Well, no,
up.
actually, it's after he finds out everything that the consequences of all his actions of developing the processor and what it leads to. He's like, you just told me I kill. Well, actually, no. Sarah says in a voiceover,
You're
it's not every
judging
day
me
that you
on
find
things
that
that I haven't
I
even
haven't
done
even
yet.
done yet.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to know?
Yeah, I mean,
Now-
and
How are
then-
you
It goes on with her,
And I have to
FMN speech.
Yeah. The
And
epic
I have to
messengers.
I have to say, Sarah's little bit of a rant there. How are you supposed to know? Guys like you stopped
Built the
the atomic
hydrogen
bomb.
bomb.
Guys like
you.
you
thought
thought it up.
You think you're so
You
creative.
don't.
Yeah.
You
know
don't
what it's
know
like
how
to
to
feel
really
alive.
to
but
create.
then there,
I just love how John
And then
stopped.
John just cuts her off. He's like, "Hey,
Mom!
We have to be less
do
creative.
you really think
yeah.
this is really productive at this particular time?"
yeah, but
And
what I love
that
about
whole
that
paradigm
scene,
where John is acting more mature than his mother is.
yeah,
That really shows the impact. I mean,
Leadership,
this is a great action film, but it really shows the paradigm of what a very warped adolescence can do to a person, both to the negative and to the positive. Because if you think about John, his life experience, it's incredible to see
and,
this sort of thing happen. Go ahead, Chris.
It's what's happening here. It's not just the leadership. Everybody wants to say, well, there's this leadership coming into play. No, this is a kid that now realizes that everything his mom, all the hate that he had for his mom, the situation he's in, all of this stuff, he was led to believe one thing, then he's told another. Now he finds out that what he was originally led to believe actually is the case. And now he feels like he has to be that grounding part of his mom's life. He realizes that he failed his mom, and now he needs to keep his mom on track. Because is his mom insane? Yes, she is very much a lunatic in this movie. But that is not necessarily because she's lying or she doesn't know. She just has this craze that she is trying to save things.
she's emotionally insane.
And also, like
Yes.
in the deleted scene, which was about to smash the chip, John says something like, "Mom, like, if I'm supposed to be this great military leader," she says, "how
Maybe
can
you need to-
somebody listen
maybe
to
you
my
need-
ideas?
My
and
mom
you
won't
even
listen to me."
mine."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because if my own mom won't listen to me, then how can I expect anyone else to?
yeah. And the interesting thing is about also is there actually is a deleted piece of dialogue right when he interrupted her and said, "We all need to be a little more constructive here." In the novel, there was an extra line where he said, "I don't see what sexism has to do with this," because she was going on about men like you.
She's being misandrous.
Yeah,
Or she's being very much misandrous.
yeah, and I think they
Anyway.
should have. It would have been great if they kept that line in. But yeah, either way, that's still a good line because I mean it shows how the kid is actually smart enough to not go down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, when the Terminator's talking to Miles, you actually do catch a little bit of the dialogue. Nuclear effects cause massive cooling, and which tells you that he's going over all of the negative that is going to happen.
Oh,
Mhm.
This is what happens in a nuclear war, the nuclear winter, what you guys
Yep.
are going to go through.
Yep.
That's basically what makes Dyson sick, knowing
Yeah.
that he's about to be responsible for 3 billion deaths.
yeah.
He
But
did
truth be
pretty
told,
well.
it technically is not all him. I mean, yeah, Miles Dyson may have
He is
finished
most
the work
directly
on,
responsible.
but he's
Listen.
not the one who. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was the military, the government.
He is the Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
Bingo.
Essentially, yes.
He has the knowledge to put 2 and 2 together. Listen,
Yeah.
everybody wants to credit Einstein. Everybody says Einstein is what created the nuclear bomb. No, or the
Wrong. That
atomic
was
bomb.
Oppenheimer.
I didn't know anything about that.
Came up
Oh, yeah.
came up
Oh, yeah.
with the
They lied to
theory.
him.
The thing people don't realize is what we consider E equals MC squared as fact now is only because Oppenheimer put that theory to test with the atomic bomb. When it happened, then not only did we get the worst weapon at the time, but we also proved Einstein correct.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, then his wife is like, but aren't we changing? Yeah. So she's like, aren't we changing things? I mean, right now, changing the way it goes. And that does lend credence to what we were discussing earlier with the whole time immutable thing. And he's like, yeah, but there's no way I'm going to finish it right now. Forget it. I'll quit Cyberdyne tomorrow. That's not good enough. No one must follow your work.
Yeah,
Which does lead to a deleted scene in T3 where the Sergeant William Candy scene. God, I hate that scene.
Oh, yeah.
I actually
know.
like that scene. I think it's funny.
I'm Sergeant Candy.
Yeah, I know.
It's like,
but
I
will say this: the Sergeant Candy scene is somewhat understandable, but I also prefer the T2 infiltrator version, where there was like an Austrian CIA federal agent of some kind.
Yeah.
Von something. Yeah.
Now, the reason why I say that is because Brewster's like, we got this from the patents from Cyberdyne. Cyberdyne, that's ancient history. And that's basically elaborating that they still continued Dyson's work, except that they went more digital instead of physical.
Yeah.
Also, like in Salvation too, when Marcus goes into Skynet and he's looking at all his things there, talking about how Cyberdyne went bankrupt and the military bought it out.
And yet Skynet still used the Cyberdyne logo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And also became a pyramid itself. But anyway, in T2, Battle
3D.
Across Time.
Yeah. I love that attraction. I actually went to see that back in.
Do you know that is still to this day the most expensive 15 minutes of film ever?
Yeah, and I still consider that the official real Terminator 3, even if there are some things. But I can justify some of those explanations. Like, for example, why the Terminator time traveled through on a motorcycle with his shotgun and clothes on. I just chalked that up to Skynet overall because of all the time travel nonsense. It upgraded the time so that it could allow inanimate objects.
And I love
and that's why it stayed open. And then that's why it allowed the portal to stay open so they can travel back to the future.
Yep. Hey, Buckethead. Blows his head off and he's like, you recognize him? Or you know that one? He was
my college roommate. Yeah. And then when they're in the pyramid and on the elevator going down, he's like, "Where are we? Home."
How about with the mini HK when he grabs and it's whining, he goes, "Oh, shut up," or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Stop whining.
I actually saw some edited footage of that Future War T2 3D sequence, but they have the more the T2 music, the Terminator 2 music in it, brought back by Brad Fiedel. Well, more like it has the T1000 like hum in one version where the endoskeleton pops through, and then it has that slow sound effect, like to build up tension that it might actually kill John and all that. It's real cool.
Now,
so then we get.
No, go ahead, Orange.
So then
Go
we
ahead.
get to the assault on Cyberdyne, where
Mhm.
we get the small narration of Sarah, where we were in uncharted territory,
And
changing
another
the future
callback
as we went
to
along.
Kyle Reese in T1. Sarah is wearing the the coat that Kyle Reese wore in T1.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And I actually made an interesting what if scenario in my in my TechCom reviews. What if the silent alarm was not tripped because they got the guard up front, but how the heck did they miss the other guy that found him when he just arrived from that same elevator just minutes before?
You know what would have been a better idea for them to do?
What?
Put him in the fucking women's room.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have been a
But-
problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, but yeah, it turns out that according to the screenplay, there were supposed to be more guards. There was like two
Yeah.
of them on the floor
Mm.
where the
That would
key
make
to the
sense.
vault was. And then and then the thing was they would tie them up, but then they would realize the hard way that they missed one, and that's the one that would trigger the silent alarm. And when they just right when the cops arrived, they let the two guards they tied up go, and then just as they're running away, Arnie was supposed to say, "Later, dickwads."
Yeah, nice.
I
So then, go ahead.
was just chuckling. Go ahead.
So then, we get to them going through the lab. The silent alarm gets tripped, and I love how they are. He's like, the code or the private code from the lab may still no good. Let me try mine. Now, here's the thing that I learned from the special edition: if you fire an M1 grenade shell at a door at that close range, it would not explode. It would actually just bounce right off.
Hey, it's
Yep.
a movie. Just
It
roll with it.
requires, I know, but it requires a certain amount of distance and rotation to actually prime the charge inside of the shell. So, but one thing I do like about when the explosion happens, you actually hear the depressurizing sound. It's like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, that is like serious attention to detail.
Yeah.
So then,
And that's the thing too. I think another reason why it still blew up even at that close range is because I would think the Terminator would be smart enough to calculate a way for it to blow up at that close range, and he wouldn't be affected by it. That's just
it's
my
more
thinking.
movie magic. That's
Okay.
That's like you said, it's a movie. Don't think too much about it. But anyway,
Exactly.
The T-1000 arriving at Dyson's place it's like, so what does it feel like to be, well, not home, but what would eventually become your home, you know? And I just look now. This is where the scanner. They have the scene where the police are arriving at Cyberdyne, connected with the T-1000 at the Dyson home, but they actually split that into another extended scene where Dyson is talking with Sarah, and the T-1000 or the T-800 is just freaking taking an axe to a freaking supercomputer, and I'm like, he's really going to town with that damn thing.
But
Yep.
I will say, well, that is one thing I don't like about the special edition. I mean, I love a lot of things about it. That's one thing I draw back to it, in my opinion. I don't like how they cut away from that, because the original theatrical, as it was describing, the suspects responsible, it described Sarah, but then when it got to describing Arnie, it continued to like it's
One of the police officers in
fitting
1984.
Yeah, and I like that, because once again, it's acknowledging that the 84 incident occurred, because it explains why the cops show up with basically
With so
planning to
much,
shoot to
yeah.
kill. Because I mean, the camaraderie of old police officers, even if they never actually met any of those officers.
Yeah, it's the cop killer.
Brothers in arms.
The phone book killer, as they called him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's the thing. Here's what nobody ever questioned. No, because they wouldn't have thought about it that way, because they wouldn't have put it together back then. Why would somebody who she was literally describing as trying to kill her, suddenly, why is she working with him?
Exactly. Why are
But
it's like the
nobody ever
cops did
thought
not
about that.
think, and that actually kind of ties into what I would have done if I were to do a Terminator 3 of my own right now. I would open my movie up with the SWAT team leader who infiltrates Cyberdyne and shoots Dyson, played by actor Dean Norris. Who, I don't know if any of you have ever seen Under the
Breaking
Dome.
Bad, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
anyways,
Dude is
he
freaking nuts.
played the SWAT team leader that shot Dyson and yelled, "Fall back!"
Yeah.
Anyways,
Go back now.
so
I can't hold this any longer.
So basically, my Terminator 3 would open up in the West Highland Police Station, rebuild almost looking exactly the same as before, but with windows and more refined. And he's walking into the precinct now wearing a suit, basically assigned to a desk. And then all of a sudden he gets security footage, and then he's like, "When was this taken?" About an hour ago, and we're only just finding out about it. And because he basically was passing he basically passes by a bunch of younger rookie officers who are all acting all hotshot because now they're cops now, so they can do just about anything and not have to worry. But then he comes marching out, barking at everyone, saying, "This was taken an hour ago, and this man, he marched in this building some years ago and killed 17 out of 30 police officers. Each and every one of those chairs you're sitting in was once occupied by a man or a woman who was killed by this psycho. I want him yesterday." And then he goes back to his office and he rewatches the footage. And then you see what appears to be Arnold wearing glasses again and on a security camera. And he's looking, but then he flashes back to this, the Cyberdyne scene and remembering how he got shot. And yet he saw the metal under the skin when they were shooting at the Terminator. And then as he's looking closely at the security footage, he's like, "What the hell are you?" And it's like, that's basically my Terminator 3 is this surviving officer from the Cyberdyne incident is asking questions.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Then we get the Dyson destroys his processor with the axe. He's like, "Excuse me, can I borrow that thing?" Now, then we get, or John gets the key because he hacks the system like he did with the ATM. And then the police or then they go and get the arm and the chip, and then he's like, "I'll take care of the police." Hey, wait, you swore.
Trust me.
And what's funny is
that is my favorite scene of the movie.
The march up with the drums of the score is like, duh, 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 duh.
I love the scene though in the vault.
Yeah.
Because they walk in and Dyson's like, "Okay, to get the and he's just like, wow. He's like sitting there going, why are we worried about being careful with anything in this place?"
I know.
And I love John's remark. Looks like we got Skyballs by the balls.
By the balls.
That's true. They technically did have it by the balls there. And
and also like by the forearm, but
but also I would have preferred if Dyson would have just after he shattered the first one, he would have shrugged and it's like, "Okay, that works too."
Yeah.
That would have been fitting.
Yeah. So then we get the T-800 versus the cops, and I love how the whole that scene was exceptionally planned with the choreography, the squibs within the cement and the yard or the grass areas, and how he actually doesn't kill any cops. It's 0.0 human casualties. Yeah. And I love how the chopper guy, he's like, "That's a damn minigun."
That is my
fuck this, I'm out.
The minigun scene is my favorite throughout that movie.
There was a prop too there. That wasn't really Arnold. There was like a half dummy. When he goes to the window there and starts shooting at the cops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the half dummy is actually the scene later in the fucking entrance of the building where he gets shot at by the shootout in this hallway.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But we will get to that, and I love how when he brings out the M1 and shoots the shells, 3 shells are unused and disappear in this movie.
Really?
Yep, I counted all of the shells on him. And
Do you
there
know
are,
between which scenes that they disappeared?
yeah, they disappear between that scene or they disappear between the escape scene and the mill scene.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
so when he shoots the first cop, or when he's about to shoot the second one with the M1, if you look closely at the window that he shoots, you can already see the breakout of that window where the shell is supposed to enter the window and then blow up the vehicle.
Mm.
And I absolutely love that. It's like, holy crap, it's just another little cute movie, not mistake, but it's part of the movie magic, you know?
Yeah.
I will quickly say I am writing my own story, and eventually I plan on doing like a Terminator like arc. And I do have my own version of this minigun scene planned out. I just want to let you know that how similar, but it will be different, very different.
Let me guess. He doesn't have the termination restriction.
No, not that. More like the police. They are friends with my character, the Blue Shogun, and so after when basically when the Blue Shogun and my version of the Terminator are shooting at the cops but avoiding them, one of the cops is his detective friend and is pointing it out, and then of course he calls down the officer friend he has, points out that they're doing the right thing, but they're keeping the cops away because one of their own is compromised, aka the T-1000. And so that's essentially, yeah.
So
And of
then
course, you got one of the best damn stunt scenes ever done where Robert Patrick or his stunt double jumps that motorcycle into the freaking helicopter.
That
we'll
was
get
awesome.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Oh,
see
so
too,
glorious.
pointed out in that scene too that he has like 4 arms or 5 arms or something like that.
We'll get to those. So
Yeah.
we then get to the shoot where Miles gets shot by the SWAT team. I mean, they went in shooting because they realized that completely armed and dangerous.
Mm.
And Miles is holding a piece of the processor above the detonator. A lot of people thought that it was just the detonator that he was holding over the dead man switch when it was actually the piece of the broken processor.
Yeah, the piece that he broke with the axe.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know how much longer I can hold this. Now, when right before he drops, you see his breathing slowing.
Yeah, he goes.
What he is seeing, because they wanted to get it in, but they couldn't eat, or they had it planned, but they weren't able to film it, was that just before he drops it, he has a vision of his wife and children living a better life.
Mm-hmm.
And then he drops it. And that blows the building. Now, the lobby shootout, that's what it's called, lobby, Dan. But anyway, the lobby shootout, I love the Terminator vision.
The lobby. Let's go
to the lobby. So go to the lobby and get ourselves some snacks.
Get ourselves a treat. But anyway.
Let's go shoot some policemen. Let's go shoot some
Chris.
Anyway, so
he doesn't do it.
No, it doesn't.
I know.
The T-Vision he looks at the Terminator, or the Terminator looks down at the police, and it's like, termination override, disable targets only.
Mm-hmm.
Basically reminding the audience he was given a direct order by John not to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part where Marissa was mentioning the half Terminator dummy.
Yes.
Where he had to match the walk, and then they had to match the movement of his arms and whatnot. And I love how they're like, get down on the floor, face down on the floor. Okay, drop him. And it's like, oh shit. Now they made dummy look a lot, very much like Arnold. I mean, that was Arnold getting shot up. And the smoke grenade launcher that he picks up and shoots at him, when he shoots the first guy, if you pay close attention, it's slightly, or the shot comes slightly above the barrel because they had to shoot a slower velocity round at the guy and at the other guy too. Also, you'll notice that the shot of the one guy buckling the knee, the last guy that he shoots, is also the guy that he gets, or that gets shot before that guy too, because they repeated the shot but then did a wider shot of the same shot. So that's the thing that you actually notice in this movie. They do a lot of repeat shots in this movie, sprinkled throughout. The shot where the Terminator shoots on the bike, where he shoots the lock, and he does it again or they use the same shot over in that scene as well. So then we get the T-1000 arriving, and then he starts riding his damn bike up the stairs, which was freaking awesome. And the Terminator also has already launched smoke everywhere. So then they get the SWAT truck in there so that they can escape, and you still hear the silencer pistol sounds of the police pistols.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get to the highway chase, and I gotta say the stunt chopper work on this was really good. Freaking flying a damn helicopter underneath a bridge is not something many people can do.
Yeah, Cameron went so far as to actually try and do that.
He did it.
Yeah, that's
He
right. I mean,
actually
he
did it.
He did it, but most other movies these days don't even try.
Yep, and we also get the four-armed T-1000 because with the whole get out scene, get out.
I still say, I still say the get out of the first film is the best because it's
and also
scariest.
too, the original guy in the
Get
helicopter, he's actually a crew member that worked on T2.
Yep.
Guy in the helicopter,
Yeah. And so the reason why the T-1000 sprouts 2 extra arms is so he can actually pilot the chopper while reloading and whatnot for shooting. And I love how Sarah puts all the freaking vests on her son and then puts 2 above the window, but not one on herself. It's like, why wouldn't you save at least one, you know?
Well, even if she put it on herself, it wouldn't have changed anything because remember, she got shot in the leg.
Yeah.
Though she could have at least wrapped one around her legs.
Yeah. So then we get after she gets hit in the leg, the Terminator hits the brakes to crash the chopper.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the Mr. Hallelujah guy. You hurt? And freaking Uncle Bob just looks up at him. He's like, what do you
what the hell do you think?
And and the T-1000 comes out. He's like, God damn, you're Now,
and there's another interesting thing here about this next truck chase. Not only does it mirror the one from the first film with Sarah and Reese running from but the thing is that truck in that last one ended up going into a ball of fire. This one goes up in a a frozen ice. So it's an interesting contrast.
Yep. Also, the liquid nitrogen truck is actually established during the chase with the helicopter because that's the one that honks its horn when the helicopter has to go over the bridge.
Yeah.
That's actually the same one.
Yeah.
So also after the T-1000 stabbed the guy, it shows Robert Patrick getting ready to go up in. You see his arm is actually still shiny. They had to just put like spray paint on his arm to make it look like it was shifting or facing back.
And that was actually clever. I liked that.
Yeah. It was a nice little lazy way of doing it, but it worked.
Yeah.
Now, when they get into the mill and he's getting shattered, when the T-1000 is frozen.
Man, I love that.
No, wait, crap. Hold on one second. The truck smashing into their truck where Arnold drops the grenade round.
Mhm.
When the truck is approaching, you actually hear a lion's roar mixed in with the sound of the truck approaching.
Wow.
They actually do use a lot of animal sounds in explosions in the Terminator franchise.
Well,
Ah.
there are
So-
animal sounds in everything. Ben Burt, the Industrial Light and Magic, or
Yeah.
Lucasfilm guy. I mean, if you watch any like documentaries that he's in, like where they talk about sound, he'll tell you, he's like, you'd be surprised that everything, even today, with all the digital stuff we do with visual, everything that is cataloged, that a lot of it Ben Burt did, but a lot of people have gone and done. This is cataloged across many servers that they share. And they're, I mean, so far as that they talk about circus animals who are long dead that they took sounds from, and that's what it's listed as. This is like Bobby the bear, but they still to this day, it's like so much is from animal noises, and the things that you think like, oh, that sounds like this. Nope, it's not that. It's something completely that would have nothing to do with what you've seen.
Yep. It's clever integration. Now, when he shoots the Frozen T-1000, if you look carefully how it is blown, or it's actually blown downward with an industrial fan, the shards, because to stop it from exploding everywhere else.
Yeah, I have to admit the camera work on after the T-1000 gets shattered and then it starts to reform. That has got to be one of the coolest sequences I've ever seen.
Well, they did it by using a false floor to lead the mercury into a pool.
Yeah.
And also, I also know the reason why that when I mentioned the Cyberdyne incident earlier, where Arnie was supposed to let the guards go and then say later, dickwads. The reason why that was not filmed was because they wanted to show they didn't want, obviously that would have shown how close to being human he was, but they didn't film that or cut it because they preferred Hasta La Vista, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Here, if you want to make me large, or the full screen.
1 second.
I can find it. Yeah, actually, here I can just share it, the video file. I mean, I love the scene, and I'll have to find it here really quick.
Well, you're large and in charge now.
Yes, I know, but I decided I was just going to share it straight from here. If I can find it, here we go. You play that. Let's cut to that, just that part of it. I love it. All you have to do is share that and then play it.
Where is it? And here it is. It just showed up.
Yeah, it might take that.
Hasta la vista, baby.
The way they did that was so cool looking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That also, notice how it blows strictly downward. You actually see that last wisp. It's because they also added some of the nitrogen into the fan.
Yeah, that's it. I just love that. And you gotta admit that because he learns that the hasta la vista, that
Baby. Yeah.
there's a point, there's a reason to do that there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so then we get the reforming, and they actually were in the foil men, which I like to call the foil men because they literally pretty much wrapped Robert Patrick and stunt doubles in tinfoil. So then you get the idea that the T-1000 is glitching because when he grabs onto the paint,
the bar,
the bar, he looks down. He's like, "What the fuck?" And then he whips his hand, and the sound effect is just so freaking creepy, dude.
Yeah,
But
but I do feel like they should have kept that in, especially when they get near the end, where we find out why John yelled for his mother to shoot.
Well, Carpenter,
and that is, or it's also included.
I mean, Cameron. Sorry, I don't know why I want to call him Carpenter all the damn time, but Cameron said that he was just not happy with the CGI. He felt that pushed it too far, and so he wasn't happy with it. And again, this goes back to the fact that he's a perfectionist. So I mean, come on, this guy built 3/4 of the original Titanic to the original blueprints.
Hey, I'm a bit of a perfectionist myself, but even I know when to just take the W where I can get it.
And
exactly
the reason for the chameleon effect of the T1000, where it is glitching, and where it shows the glitch running up him the first time in the special edition, and also his boots or his legs
are morphing to match the metal plating, right?
Yeah.
That actually does hinder the actual story in a way, because as he is fighting the T800, why isn't he glitching there either?
That's true.
He does.
So,
he does actually.
He does have the glitch run up after he pins the
to the wall. Yeah.
But he doesn't glitch during the fight itself. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not glitching during the fight itself. He's not chameleon, or he's not having the chameleon effect.
Here's the problem. You're thinking in terms of what we can do today. CGI couldn't move that quick to react to the fact that you're trying to say that the T1000 is a fast-moving Terminator who, when he's fighting the one-on-one.
Well, what I'm saying is... sorry about that.
It's okay.
I get okay.
Had a little
you
bit of
just make the point. You don't have to echo it.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. But anyway, what I was saying was basically that's the reason why they cut out the chameleon effect.
I understand. It's just that it didn't seem like it synced up right when they just had John yell shoot, and he did. How the heck was he supposed to know one was the real one or not? So that's one of the reasons why I feel like that's the one exception they should have left in.
Yeah. So
and I think
go ahead.
Well, the other reason I actually like the glitch footage because it shows that this thing can be beat. It's extremely durable, obviously, but it's not invincible. It can be beaten. You just have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, like maybe they could have had it where, the more it fought, the more it exerted itself, hence the glitching. I mean, after all, if you go by the theatrical cut, the first glitch you see is right after it pinned the T800. So, maybe after it was trying to kill Sarah, and then it had to fight the Terminator again and put impale him, then maybe that's what resulted in the chameleon effect in the legs when John...
It's very simple. Listen, have you ever had a phone overheat in the sun? And then try to put it... Okay, well, listen, they do. Because I work outside, so it happens to me where, my old phones used to say, overheating, shutting down. You take it, you put it in the freezer or in a refrigerator to help cool it down quickly. The first problems it will have is either screen glitching or it will take longer to process what you're doing. Now, as time goes on, it reverts back to being more in a normal conditions.
Yeah.
It'll return back. What he's facing is that he has been frozen, just splintered, and the only thing that brought him back was heat. So,
but the further
he is experiencing a processor problem, because a processor when it hits extremes, and listen, this would even today, no matter how good a machine is, that's going to be the biggest problem any machine ever has. Is how do you keep something with wires or processors from overheating or being put into an extreme cold position? There's certain limits that it has. This is something that any machine would have. So that's what's glitching it. It's the fact that it's now been experiencing 3 major pressures onto its system: cold, heat, and complete. Even though it's designed to repair itself, it's not designed literally to go into 100 or more pieces and then reassemble.
Yeah.
But again,
So
It wasn't meant for heavy damage.
But I also admit, but again, I also think that even if it could, reassemble itself from in these extreme conditions, I think maybe the fighting was what was weakening it, making it glitch even more.
And I do like the fight too, because the way
it's brutal.
The way the T-1000 actually fights is, it's like it gets thrown up against the wall and it just reorients by going or by reversing itself.
Yeah.
Then it takes the punch through the face and then grows the head out of its shoulder and twists his arm, throwing it around.
I actually
and then getting him.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I actually, when I did my whole what if the silent alarm at Cyberdyne wasn't tripped, I actually redid the ending with the fight still going down at the steel mill, but I did it in a different way. So, I actually had it where the T-1000 never got frozen, but, it was still functional. So it was like you had a heavily armed Sarah and the Terminator fighting a 100% conditioned T-1000 in the steel mill. So
would have got its ass kicked. But anyway, the T-800 would have. But so then you see another Tin Man basically tossing Arnold around, and he gets stuck in the gear
work.
So yeah, and then that's where you see the theatrical glitch.
Yeah,
and then we get John and Sarah getting up some steps with the shotgun, and she lets her spur because the T-1000's closing in. The shot, I love this shot where she shoots him in the face. She actually stops and she's like, whoa. She has that moment of pause, and it's like, I really wouldn't be pausing right now.
Yeah, I mean, she saw it get its head split the night before. I don't know. It's like, why?
And there's also another callback to T1, because at the end of T1, Sarah and Kyle were sort of going up the stairs to escape the Terminator, and Kyle was going to hit the Terminator with the long pipe.
Yep. And then we get the through the shoulder. And this is where it actually you get a little bit of twisted humanity from the T-1000. Call to John. No, I know this hurts. Call John.
Now, what did you just say about that scene though?
It's
you get
kind
a bit of what?
Twisted humanity, so to speak.
Oh no. It's explained even in the first Terminator. This is his processor telling him, I'm gonna give her this idea that if she does what I want, I'll let her live. He's gonna kill her. His plan is to kill her. So this is again the Silverman mind fuck. This is do what you have to do. This isn't compassion in any way, shape, or form. Because if he was compassionate, he wouldn't continue as he's saying it to make it.
I didn't say he was compassionate.
Well, I
said he was
the way
twisted.
you said this twisted. This is. I mean,
but see, here's the thing.
Think there's
I
any
know this hurts. Call John.
Yeah, but see, here's
basically
the thing as well.
If we call John, I'll stop. He's messing with her.
Yeah,
Indeed.
but what I mean is, like, the thing is, the T-1000 is also remember, the T-1000 it's more advanced than a Terminator. It's so wild and unpredictable that even Skynet couldn't control it. It was afraid it would turn on them. So
that's why
I can understand. But see, that's the thing. If the Terminator, if someone talked to the Terminator and said, you don't have to do this. You don't have to fulfill Skynet's programming. Remember, it feared you. You're free. You're unpredictable.
That's what happened in the Sarah Connor Chronicles with the T-1001.
Oh. They wanted to give it a choice.
Yeah. So, I mean...
The Jimmy Carter episode there,
Yeah. So, in a way, the T-1000 probably did get some sort of twisted sense of humanity, because it chose to continue being evil. It chose to fulfill the mission. And... but it did want to, play with its prey before it killed it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get the when she's like, or when she basically tells the Terminator, "Fuck you." We get the T-800. Now, before the T-800 going back to the gear and breaking its arm off, you actually see Arnold's arm, his real arm, in a black sock.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
I
pay
think I
attention to
remember
that
seeing-
scene, you
Okay.
actually see him or his arm in a black sock.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy crap, dude, that's pretty cool.
And that's
It's
another
just-
thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, and that's another thing that I feel like Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, and everything else onward always neglected to mention when they tried to explain why Judgment Day still happened, why Skynet still rose. Because that freaking arm was still there. Yeah, in the novel, they had it where John found it and threw it in the thing, but how the heck would he even know about it? I mean, yeah, he knew that the Uncle Bob was missing an arm, but there's no way he would have had enough time to scour the whole place looking for it before the cops came. So
Well,
it's like,
he knew the general area of where Uncle Bob and the T-1000 fought.
yeah,
Well,
but would they have had enough
So he would have
time
been
to
able
do
to-
that?
But
I'm
here's the
pretty
thing.
sure he would have.
But here's the thing we're all missing, or might be missing. That arm was so mangled and so damaged, they wouldn't have been able to do anything with it, honestly.
Yeah.
'Cause
Granted,
It
it was
wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
shorter than the first arm. Because remember,
Yeah.
the first arm was like the right arm. This was the left arm. But still, I mean, even without the chip, they would have tinkered with the remains of that arm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Considering all the trauma that was done to that arm, I don't think there was anything they really could have done with it. I mean,
They could have at
fully
least
intact
advanced.
arm-
They could have at least advanced them.
Extrapolation.
They could have they could have at least
maybe.
they could advance the metallurgy, because remember, Terminator metal is advanced. It's a metal that has not been
It's a
invented yet.
hyperalloy chassis.
Exactly.
whatever that means. But yeah.
It's stronger than steel and titanium alloy.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just being a little tongue in cheek. So
But anyway, so we then get the T-800 interrupting, slashing into the T-1000. That is actually a pretty nice little piece there, because it's Robert Patrick's arm is just straight down and behind his back a little bit to allow for the coat system to place with the false arm.
Mhm.
And then the T-800 or Uncle Bob gets his ass kicked and impaled, which is apparently Epime's favorite scene.
That is
I need
also
a
a good
vacation.
scene. Yeah, that is actually a good scene, because now it's like, now in this moment, I mean, anyone who saw the first film but was expecting Arnie to be the bad guy again and was not spoiled by the trailers, they it's like they were starting to dig this guy, especially when he said "Hasta la vista, baby." But now when he is crawling across that graded platform, you're like, oh my god. I mean, yeah. I don't want this guy to die. I like him now, you know. And then when he gets impaled, you're like, oh no, is he
He's
dead?
done.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it
he
was
wins.
cool but it was cool how there was a faint flicker in his eye before, he reactivated.
Yeah. And
He's
I
like-
love that it's reroute alternate power.
Yeah. And that's another
Yes, rise.
and that's another thing too. It's like also that scene where he was impaled and he started surging electricity. That also mirrors how the Terminator in the first film died. How when it was crushed, how
Yep.
there was electricity.
And so then during that whole thing, you see Sarah taking each shell. Now I counted each of the shells. She dropped one,
Yeah.
and she loaded one, and then she had 5 more shells, so that's 7 shells. Now when the T-1000 gets shot, after it calls to John looking like Sarah and has the graded feet, she literally shoots it 7 times.
Yeah.
She shoots it once. It
Yeah. In the first
reacts,
shot was
turns
in the,
around.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
that
yeah.
wasn't the first shot. That was, or she shoots it in the back.
Okay.
It turns around, and then she shoots it 6 more times.
6, but there were only 5 spots.
Or hold on.
I think we're miscounting.
Hold on. All right, so
I guarantee I can't remember the website. There's a website that you can go to if for questions about shooting, like in movies. And I can't. It's like count the shots.
Yeah, the T-1000
or something.
I done that
shooting
before.
at John in the hallway was shooting like
they go through exactly like they know how many they had, they know how many they shot, they know if the shots count was off. Like for instance, one of the most notorious ones is the Dirty Harry, the Deadpool, was it, or whatever it's called.
You want to talk infamous? Check out Double Impact. There was a scene where they were
Double Impact.
He had 2 pistols firing at the docks in that scene, and it was like he was firing more rounds than those clips could really carry.
Well, so wasn't the T-1000 earlier when it was shooting at Uncle Bob in the first versus part of it? He shot like 20 times at his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, actually, no. I think there was a clip change. I'm pretty sure
there was a clip change, but he still fired 20 times.
Okay,
before he changed that clip.
Okay,
believe me, I couldn't count all of them, but it was pretty damn close to 20.
Okay, fair enough.
If not, so then we get the T1. Or now, a lot of people ask, well, why wouldn't she just push it over while it's healing, or why wouldn't John try to put? It's like
because there's a possibility her hand could get stuck to it and it could pull her down with it.
Not only that, she's radically off balance because of the shot leg.
Yeah.
So there's a chance she would go over. And if John tried to do it, all it would need to do is just have one little metallic spike issue out of its body, kind of like the Rev 9 in Dark Fate. And there you go, no more John Connor. So a lot of people are like,
what is Dark Fate? I don't know any Dark Fate.
Mega, listen again. It isn't. Listen, you may hate that movie, but
I haven't seen it.
Well, I will tell you what. I have learned over time. Do not buy into what other people say. I'm not going to say it's the greatest Terminator movie.
Watch a movie for yourself.
Watch it. Just watch it, and then you can say, "Hey, as a Terminator fan, you need to watch it."
Well, I may not have seen it, but I've already seen enough to know, that this movie, that entire movie was basically copy and paste of everything that they tried before and just did it worse.
Oh, it does. It takes a lot of stuff and throws it at the wall and just sees what sticks in a sense. But there's method to the madness, I believe.
And we will get into it when we actually.
Yes, you have to watch it.
When we get to the Dark Fate stream.
Time. So, Mega, you have to watch it. No. Sorry, I had.
Well, the only real scene that I have watched that I liked is. Well, I know it's bad, but I like it still because it's the opening, the infamous opening. I like that because that could have been the basis for telling a great story. They just didn't do that though.
Mega Jetty, I will terminate you.
Hey, just trust me. My first Terminator what if essentially mirrors that opening.
Yes,
what if Reese failed to save Sarah?
I would rather smack myself in the face with a meat tenderizer than watch Dark Fate.
You just shorted out Chris's neural net processor. Ambassador.
What happened? Oh, no.
You're stumbling over words because of what Ambassador said.
No. I remembered this. This is another reason why. Listen, this is another reason why Dark Fate's awesome.
Oh.
Why? Because it wants me to cause harm to myself? Because I would rather.
No. Wait. I got my phone hates this basement. Hold on. Oh, come on. Just hurry up. No, not really. It's just having more problems lately.
Give us the TLDR.
No, we'll just keep talking, and when it comes up, I'll let you know.
All right. So then.
Oh, here. Okay, here we go. Now it works.
Number you have dialed is unallocated.
Oh, never mind. Oh, I know what it is. Go ahead. I'll get to it here in a second.
So
Just go.
Oh, right. You're doing the whole calling Carl thing. But
Oh.
anyway, so then we get the T-800 coming up over the conveyor belt and shoots the last shell, which he should have had 4 others on his damn bandolier, or 3 others on his bandolier. But he shoots the T-1000, and I love Robert Patrick's reaction. It's like,
Yeah, it's like, oh shit.
He's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what they called him. I can't remember what they called that design with the totally fucked up T-1000 look.
I call it the pretzel. I call it the T1 pretzel.
That's what they called it. That's what they called it, Pretzel Man.
Oh, really? I had no idea they actually called it that. I just made that up.
All right.
Came up with it.
All right. Here.
Hi, this is Carl's Draperies. We have the best drapes and curtains anywhere in Texas. I can guarantee you that. Sorry we are not here right now to answer your call, but we'll call you back. Until then, hasta la vista.
Okay.
Was that Arnold?
That
Yes, it is him.
That was silly and ridiculous. The only good thing about that was hasta la vista.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. It's like, hey,
It is funny.
I would rather have a 2-ton weight dropped on my head than watch the Terminator Dark Fate.
Ambassadors, stop it. Now, anyway.
No.
So then it falls into the molten steel, and I love how it actually is able to reconstitute after it gets introduced to the molten steel, because it heals rather quickly, so it can swish around, and then it's changing into all the other things, trying to find a tolerance to the molten steel, and how it literally vomits its face at the last minute, trying to escape.
And does anybody ever get creeped out by the shrieking that it does? What's in that?
That's not. Listen, that's not shrieking. There's an answer to that. It's not shrieking. That is the metal. That is the metal.
Metal scraping. Yeah,
it's expanding and scraping. And
whatever you want to call it.
Cameron does say that, but no, it is weird because you think that is the way it shows them flailing around all that.
It's creepy as hell.
Yeah. Speaking of the T-1000 and such, there's actually a fan art piece I just want to quickly find here.
Share it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Apparently, I can't find it on the Google search, so I'm gonna have to go digging into my files here. Just give me a quick.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I do want to comment on John's his reaction to realizing that the Terminator is going to have to go down to the steel too. And he's like, "No, we'll fix you. Please don't go away." He's like,
"Oh yeah."
In that moment, he is being his most irrational in this entire movie. For the majority of it, he has been either very rational, but in this moment, he's just gone completely off the rational scale. He's like, even though I think he realizes
the bond with him.
Yes, exactly. And no, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Don't misunderstand me. But he is like, we can repair you. We can fix you. It'll be okay. He's like, don't go away. But even I think John deep down knows the damage is too severe, and not to mention he knows that they have to destroy him. They
deep down, sure, he would know that, but he doesn't want him to go because
he doesn't want to admit it.
As Sarah Connor said, it was there in an inhuman or an inhumane world. It was this or an insane world. It's the sanest choice.
Nice.
And then the extended scene when he goes down the vault, he says, "I have to end this now, or I am the future."
Yeah.
Yes. And he would turn his face, and the human side of it would be purely in shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, showing just the machine underneath.
Yeah.
Darn it.
But I also like how it does also iterate here. I cannot self-terminate. You must lower me into the steel.
Mm.
And Sarah, she understands. She also accepted the Terminator. She does the handshake with it.
Yes.
And which makes the whole other scene, or which makes Sarah Connor Chronicles even weirder. But anyway, where she lowers it into the steel. But I do love how it does the Terminator theme and how he is able to give the thumbs up. But also, if you are able to read the T-Vision,
Yeah.
it does say catastrophic failures or core temperature overheating and whatnot, and then it shuts down.
Yeah.
It's a very final thing. And then we get to her saying that she has a sense of hope for if a machine can learn, or Terminator can learn the value of human life, maybe we can too. But there's also the alternate ending scene
Yep.
of them in the future with an unscarred John Connor playing
He's
with
a
his
senator
daughter.
in Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Basically making sure that Cyberdyne doesn't ever freaking.
Yeah.
But this is why I say
He's going to veto the bill. The funding.
That in this iteration of the timeline,
yes,
Judgment Day doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think the best part about Genesis is it does suggest that there was a different way that things were changed.
Yeah.
So that one also brought out a different, because there's a lot of time jumping and travel in that particular movie is also what caused other things to happen that may have been the other movies. That like when they jump back forward in time and Pops or whatever she calls him is still is like waiting for him.
Yeah.
That jump in time caused, because it happens in 1984, it causes another timeline such as the Terminator 3 timeline to happen.
Yeah.
So could we almost say that the Terminator franchise isn't so much a linear story arc, but it's almost a anthology?
You can
take a starfish of time travel. That's what I call it.
Again, you can take, and this is the problem for most people with this series, because I even said it earlier that Terminator 2 is very much one of the best sequels ever because it does rely on the first movie. But you can take each one of these and they each have enough exposition in it to let you watch it as a standalone movie. The best example of that is probably Genesis, and then secondly, it's Salvation. Yes. They both can stand on their own as a movie of themselves. It's 1, 2, and 3 that kind of need each other in a way, and then Dark Fate is kind of needy of. It kind of needs the exposition from 1, 2, and 3 to make it work.
Yeah.
Also, at the ending of T1, Infiltrator, Terminator fan film, he made this very interesting point. He says, the ending of T2 does not explicitly mean the loop has been broken. It only means now Sarah faces the coming storm with a sense of hope rather than despair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
But could not the fact that her outlook on life changing, could that not, in a sense, change the fate itself? Because again, her whole character is based off of this. I have to teach my son to be a leader. I have to do this. I have to change the future, or I have to train him to be the future. And after these Terminators are gone, she lets go of that.
Yeah.
So again,
she doesn't need it anymore.
Is it what we do moment to moment? Because again, remember, the future is based off of 2 choices, yes or no. When you meet a situation, you have a left path and a right path. And yes, there are more paths, but we're going to be simple about this. There's a left path that we'll call the yes path, and there's the right path that we'll call the no path. When you choose that path, theoretically, it changes the future. Now, sometimes the future wraps back around and allows you to make that decision again. And then you say, well, I did this last time. Let me try it this time.
And
That's
that,
kick-ass.
yeah, that is a fan art image. Mission continues. As in, what if the T-1000 did not die? Maybe after John and Sarah left, maybe he just barely managed to pull himself back together. Or heck, maybe he when he melted, he just became one with the molten steel. But then when it started cooling again, he was able to break apart and slowly.
Could you imagine doing a continuation of T2 where his processor took over all the metal? Therefore, any metal from that batch could be like he could use, or any metal that batch was from could use other metal to make multiple T-1000s.
Or even better, he can assimilate the aspects of Uncle Bob into himself.
Well, that too. Oh God, yeah. Okay, now that's a rabbit hole. That anybody that wants to have a discussion of Terminator, like in a deep dive, because we've gone deep. But I mean, if we want to go rabbit hole deep, well, I'm off on Mondays. I'll start at 8 a.m. and we can go for hours if you want.
Well, I'm asleep during 8 a.m. But if you want to do like a little, like around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm game.
That's about when I gotta cut it though. But I mean, what I could do is I could send you the link, and if we're still going, you could jump in. I don't know, but I don't know what Ambassador's doing. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, but anybody that wants to jump into the rabbit hole,
I'll have to let you know.
That's fine. I'm not talking about this Monday. Yeah. I'm just saying any Monday.
Understood.
We'll talk about it.
But yeah, I will definitely get back to you on that.
I would. I wouldn't mind.
Okay. Yeah. I'll talk to both of you guys and Orange about some stuff I got planned, but we'll talk later. So let's just go. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We're on like 7 hours of this one.
When the mind wanders, it's hard to pull it back a little.
I could do it by being a lot more direct, but I don't want to. I will. I try to give you guys a little bit of leeway to see if you can pull yourselves back.
We're horrible at that, aren't we? You probably can do that determination.
Yeah, I know.
I think this has actually been one of the best discussions on T2 that I've had in a very long time. Not to mention one of the best discussions in general I've had.
Yeah. I mean,
in a very long time too.
I could do more as well. In fact, if I were to take a day off and actually do a stream, then yeah, I would.
But anyway, folks, we are going to wrap it up because that has concluded our stream. I do want to give a big shout out to everyone in the chat. Thank you very much for joining. I would go through all of you, but I am getting tired myself. Thank you to Mega Jetty, to Marissa, to Chris and Ambassador for joining. Also, stay tuned approximately 10 hours from now for the full Aussie with Lethal Lightning, Raging Rhino, and Lyndon Hall. They will be going live, well, basically in 10 hours. So definitely tune into them.
A good show.
Yeah, they do got a good show. They are freaking hilarious. Unfortunately, I won't be able to tune in tomorrow because I'm going to be helping a friend of the family in town. So yeah, I'll have to catch it on the replay. But seriously, folks, thank you all for tuning in, for sticking with the ride. This is by far the longest
you did say it would be the longest.
And I did say, yes, I did say this one would be longer because, well, this is the special edition. There's a lot of stuff that I knew from behind the scenes and wanted to get in here and talk about. So yes, thank you very much, folks. You all are freaking amazing and beautiful people. If you catch us on the replay, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you think of Terminator 2 Special Edition? Did you like it? Did you not? And what were your favorite parts? Anyway, folks, thank you again. This has been Orange Hat Reviews and Panel. Have a wonderful night, and always remember to stay humble.
Hasta la vista.